It begins softly. A sound so small, it could be ignored. It echoes not through speakers or intercoms, but through flesh. Raw, involuntary, unmistakably human. A cough. Not yours, not yet. Just one. Swallowed by the murmur of a late-night bar, tucked somewhere between the clink of glass and the low rustle of coat sleeves. No alarm, no panic. Just the kind of sound that disappears unless you're already listening for it. You're not. Not really. You are there, but only just. The kind of presence that drifts near the edge of sleep. Eyes open but slow, spine slack, with the weight of unimportant hours. The bar is called Jay's, you think. Maybe you read the sign on the way in, or maybe it's just the name everyone uses when it's too late to ask questions. A handful of others keep the place company. A security guard at the end of his shift. A young woman swirling something pale in her glass. A man in a suit whose tie has given up. You don't know their names. They don't know yours. That's the comfort of it. There's a smell to the place, not unpleasant, just aged. Warm wood, spilled beer, leather cushions that have held too many stories. The air is thick with habit. The jukebox hums, not playing anything in particular, just existing, the way old machines do when they're more memory than utility. Light filters in from the window, but only barely. The city outside is restless, but distant. You are not. And then again, the cough. The same sound, just a little wetter now. You turn your head, lazily. No urgency, no fear, just curiosity dulled by warmth. The man from before, in the booth near the back. He leans forward slightly, pressing a napkin to his mouth. The bartender says something you don't catch. It's too quiet. Or maybe your ears are choosing not to care. The man nods. He tries to smile. It doesn't last. The moment passes like all the others. The lights buzz faintly overhead, and you let yourself sink back into the safe weight of furniture. Behind the counter, a television plays the news. The sound is off, but the images flicker. A hospital, then fire, then a street you almost recognize, then static. The bartender changes the channel. You don't register the shift. You don't need to. There's a heaviness in your chest that isn't yours. A pause in the music that doesn't feel random. The woman with the pale drink sets it down too carefully, like she's testing gravity. Someone laughs, but it doesn't sound like humor. The moment hums. Outside, the wind changes. You can't hear it, not through these walls, but you feel it, like a curtain somewhere just moved, like the night just pulled in closer. Someone gets up, walks toward the bathroom. The door swings open too fast, slaps shut too hard. No one reacts. You glance toward the entrance, half expecting to see something waiting there. Nothing. Just glass. Just the night. And yet something itches at the edge of knowing. The cough comes again. Not from the same mouth this time. You're sure of it. It's higher, thinner. The woman, perhaps. She doesn't look sick, but she does look wrong. Like she's thinking about a place she hasn't seen yet. Like her skin isn't used to being hers. The bartender wipes the same spot on the counter 3 times. He doesn't blink. The TV shows static again, then cuts to an emergency alert. No sound. Just words. You don't read them. You don't need to. You already know. Something has started. It was already here. The door opens. Not the bathroom, the front. Just a little. A breeze sneaks in, and with it, a scent that doesn't belong. Not rot, not yet, but close. Like water sitting too long in a warm pipe, the kind of smell that settles on your tongue and makes you thirsty for nothing. No one walks in. But something changes. You feel your fingers curl a little tighter around your glass. The wood of the bar beneath your arm is warm, but now it feels too warm, like it's been holding breath. The others notice it too, even if they won't say so. The air has changed. It thickens slowly. The television flickers. The woman coughs again, harder this time. She brings her hand away from her mouth. There is color on it that doesn't belong. Still, no one panics. Because panic takes energy, and no one has that right now. The man in the suit stands, staggers maybe. He mumbles something about needing air, but the door doesn't want to open anymore. It sticks, just slightly, like something on the other side is leaning against it, gently. The bartender moves around the counter. You expect him to offer help. He doesn't. He locks the door instead. And now, you are here. Fully here. No longer drifting on the edge of sleep, but pulled softly into the center of something too slow to run from and too heavy to fight. The woman begins to tremble. Not dramatically. Just in that way people do when their body forgets how to be quiet. She is still seated. Her eyes are not wild, but her breath is wrong, shallow, uneven. You hear her whisper something. Could be a name, could be a prayer, could be nothing at all. The others notice her now. The bartender takes a step toward her, then stops. You can see it. The moment he thinks better of it. The moment instinct pulls ahead of duty. He turns toward the TV again. Static. Then fire. Then static again. You shift in your seat. The cushion sighs beneath you. Everything is too loud now. Even the silence. Especially the silence. There is a knock. Not on the door. On the window. Soft, slow. Not asking. Just existing. And outside, a face. Blank. Pressed against the glass like it forgot what glass was. The eyes don't focus. The mouth is open. It doesn't breathe. It doesn't need to. The bartender steps back. The woman stands now, swaying. Her mouth moves, but no words come out. Then, a sound. Not quite a groan. Not quite a scream. Something old. Something wet. She reaches for the table to steady herself. Misses. Falls. You are still in your seat, but you are no longer still. The man in the suit grabs a chair. He's shouting, but it's just noise. There's nothing to say. The bartender grabs something from beneath the bar. Metal. The shape of last resorts. The glass breaks. The night pours in. And still, no one runs. Because where would you go? You stand. Your legs are heavy. Your breath is shallow. You are not sick. Not yet. But the air knows you now. It has tasted you. The woman on the floor shudders. Her limbs jerk once, twice. Then she stills. Someone cries. You don't know who. Maybe you. The bartender fires. The sound is enormous. It doesn't fix anything. It only wakes the building up. Above you something scrapes. Not footsteps, not quite. You reach for the door. It opens this time. Because now it wants you to leave. You step outside. The city has changed. The wind carries more than scent now. It carries breath and sound and memory. Lights flicker like eyelids too tired to stay open. Alarms stutter in the distance. The world is not ending. It's simply shifting. The man in the suit is behind you. The bartender too. Maybe others. You don't count them. There's no point. Numbers won't help anymore. You walk. Slowly. Because there's nowhere safe to run. Not yet. And because the first sound was a cough. And the second was silence. And the third was you. The last sound was the drip of something not water. You remember it faintly, the way one moment seemed to stretch forever as you stared at the floor in that dim, too quiet bar. And now it's different. Not louder, not better, just changed. The door opens like it's being convinced, not commanded. Your fingers still feel the cold of the handle even after you've let go. You step out. Outside, the air tastes like rust. Not the sharp, bright kind, but the settled one. The kind that has grown tired of metal and now rests in the wind like old dust. You move along a narrow corridor flanked by brick and shadow, with only a single overhead bulb trying to matter. Its glow flickers as if in apology, as if it never meant to show you what it just did. There is a hum, not from a person, not from the city, but from something mechanical and slow. You trace the sound like you might trace a whisper, not by listening, but by following the part of your chest that feels colder. It leads you behind the ice machine. The unit itself is larger than it should be, dented along one side where a cart must have struck it long ago. The vent is clogged with lint and hair. It exhales heat in small bursts, as if it's panicking in intervals. You've never stood behind an ice machine before. You didn't think there would be space, but there is. Barely. Just enough for a person who is willing to lean, crouch, twist their way sideways past old stains and greasy paint. The wall here is the wrong color, not brick like the rest of the alley, but a dull gray panel, like someone built it fast, as if trying to cover something instead of close it. A locked door. You find it not with your eyes, but with your shin. A thunk. A pause. Then your hand presses against it. The metal is colder than the air, and smoother than anything in this city has the right to be. The handle is industrial, polished but aged. You pull it gently. It doesn't move. Of course it doesn't. You press your ear to it instead, because there's something about a door that won't open that makes you want to know what's on the other side even more. The silence isn't perfect. There's movement, maybe, or your heartbeat playing tricks. Behind you, the hum continues. You are between two things, one known, one not. You reach into your pocket, even though you know it's empty. You feel for a key that was never yours. You try the handle again. Still nothing. You sigh without meaning to. The sound escapes your mouth like a ghost looking for somewhere else to be. You sit. Not because you are defeated, not yet, but because you are tired in that way that isn't sleepiness. The kind of tired that makes you forget why you were walking in the first place. Your back presses against the wall beside the door, and the ice machine hums again. You think about how every machine you've ever known has had a rhythm, a pattern. This one doesn't. It stutters like a dying breath, or a memory trying to replay through static. The alley curves ahead, but only slightly. Not enough to hide what's beyond, just enough to delay it. There's a discarded crate by the bins, and the shadows inside it feel thicker than the shadows outside. A trail of something dry and dark leads from it to the drain. You do not follow it. You simply note that it exists. From the rooftop above, something shifts. A pigeon, maybe, or not. The flurry of motion is brief, then forgotten. Like so many things in this city, you stare at the door again. It's just a door. But it has weight, doesn't it? The kind that makes you feel watched even when you're alone. You think about the phrase, "no way out," and how it's never meant literally. But tonight, it almost does. The main street isn't far, but the main street has noise. This place has none. And silence, though it seems safer, is not always kinder. Your knees ache as you rise. Your fingers brush the edge of the frame again, as if maybe now it will decide to let you in. It doesn't. But this time, you hear something. Not a sound. A shift in the air. The kind of feeling you get when someone enters the room just after you've stopped crying. The air feels different now. More present. There's writing carved faintly into the panel just above the handle. You hadn't noticed it before. It's not words. Not really. Just marks. Gouged, not scratched. Like someone tried to spell something they didn't quite remember how to say. You run your fingers across the grooves. They are shallow, hesitant, still there. You lean closer. Behind the door, something exhales. Or maybe that was you. There's no jump, no scare. Just the knowing. That what's behind that door is not asleep and not gone. Only waiting. And that waiting is not the same as peace. You turn away slowly. Not because you want to, but because the alley is too narrow to stay in forever. You take a few steps forward, back into the light of the flickering bulb. The machine rattles once, then steadies. You glance over your shoulder, half expecting the door to be gone. But it's still there, so you nod to it, like an old friend you've grown apart from, like a memory that refused to fade. At the edge of the alley, the street stretches out, but wrong somehow. Familiar shapes drawn with unfamiliar silence. The stoplight is blinking red, but no cars move, no horns, no voices, just the wind, dry and low and curious. You step into it because standing still feels like lying, and yet your thoughts are still back there, behind the ice machine, with the door that didn't open, with the sound that wasn't yours. You wonder what it meant, if it meant anything, if maybe it wasn't meant for you at all. That's the strangest part. The loneliness here isn't just yours. It feels crowded, like grief left out for others to borrow. You find yourself crossing the street diagonally, drawn not by a destination, but by the pull of where your feet don't want to go. It's always been like that, hasn't it? You never walk toward safety, only away from noise. And so your path is stitched from avoidance, each step taken because the alternative was worse. A neon sign buzzes overhead. Half its letters have surrendered to time. The ones that remain spell something that could be hopeful if you didn't know better. You pass under it and feel the warmth of its flicker on your scalp. It's the warmest thing you've felt all night. To your left, an awning hangs low, torn by weather or worse. Beneath it, a table set for no one. A plastic cup still half full of something that has stopped being drinkable. You wonder how long it takes for things to change like that. For coffee to turn to sludge, for breath to turn to silence, for people to stop being people. You keep walking. Every block feels like it's holding its breath. Windows don't watch you, they hide. The glass reflects only what you were a few moments ago, never what you are now. A store sign creaks above, not in rhythm, just once, like a sentence that never got finished. And then there's another door, not locked, not cold, but you hesitate just the same, because the thing about locked doors is, they stay where you leave them. Open ones ask for more. You stand in the doorway for a long moment, letting your shadow stretch forward into the room beyond. You don't know what's inside, but it's not the alley, not the machine, not the door, and that feels like enough reason to enter. Still, as your hand brushes the frame, you glance behind you once more, toward the alley, toward the hum, toward the shape of a door that might open someday, just not today. You step inside. The door behind you closes softly, not because it was pushed, just because it wanted to. And somewhere far away, but not far enough, the hum of the ice machine continues its rhythm. Unsteady, like breath, like memory, like something still waiting behind cold metal and forgotten words. And the air smells faintly of frost, even here, even now. The handle is still cool beneath your fingertips when the air changes. You don't notice it at first. The door behind you settling back into its frame. The metallic sigh of hinges returning to stillness. But the breath in your lungs reacts before your mind does. Something has shifted, not danger exactly, just difference, like the air on the other side of a memory. You hold the silence with both hands as you step out. The city should be loud here, even now, especially now. It should greet you with shouts layered over engines, layered over footsteps, layered over music, escaping too loud headphones and too open windows. But there's nothing like that, just the quiet. And the quiet feels wrong. Not the kind of wrong that screams, the kind that waits. You step into it anyway. The alley narrows at first. The buildings on either side lean toward one another, not in menace, but in collapse. Like shoulders that have held too much weight for too long and now fold inward, almost tenderly, around the path you must take. A trash can has spilled its contents. A fire escape groans above your head like someone sighing in their sleep. You pass under it, not quickly, not slowly, just enough. The light here has no source. It doesn't fall from the sun or flicker from street lamps. It glows softly, diffusely, as if remembered rather than cast. It clings to surfaces with a gentle dullness, brick, rust, asphalt, the faded blue of a dumpster. And you walk through it like it's water. There's something painted on the wall to your right. A mural, maybe, or just graffiti grown up and settled into permanence. You don't look long enough to read it. Words don't help here. Not anymore. A soft crunch beneath your boot draws your attention down. Glass, a bottle maybe, or the lens of a camera that will never record again. The shards scatter like teeth. You try not to think about that, but you do anyway. Beyond the alley, the street opens like a wound that forgot how to bleed. There's a newspaper caught in the breeze. Not tumbling, just gliding in half-hearted circles. You catch a word or two. Quarantine. Unconfirmed. Containment. The ink has started to run. You think about the hands that held it last. The fingers that turned those pages. Were they clean? Were they trembling? You let it float away. The pavement beneath your feet feels too wide now. The openness swells against your ribs, and you find yourself hugging close to the buildings as you walk, as if the walls might still offer protection. They don't. But it's a habit. And habits are anchors. The city smells strange here. Not putrid. Not yet. But unfamiliar. The scent of something chemical mixed with something wet, mixed with something you can't name but instinctively dislike. Like old copper coins in the back of your throat. Like ozone. Like breath left too long in a sealed space. A storefront window across the street has shattered from the inside. You can tell by the direction of the cracks. The glass spilled outward like a confession, and you pause to look in. It was a clothing shop. Once. Mannequins stand frozen in postures that were never natural to begin with, but now they feel funereal. One of them is missing a head. Another leans awkwardly against a display rack, arm bent at an impossible angle. Their clothes are still folded, still pressed, still waiting for customers that no longer exist. You step away. A bus sits abandoned, angled slightly across two lanes, as if the driver had simply forgotten how to steer. The doors are open. You don't go inside, but you look. A child's backpack lies near the front. One strap caught on a seat post, as if someone had tried to tug it free and failed. It's purple. It has stars on it. You don't see blood. You don't see bodies. But you don't need to. You walk on. There's a cafe on the corner. Its sign flickers even now, even with no power. A pale ghost of neon offering specials no one will read. Chairs lie overturned inside. Cups left on tables, steam long gone. A jacket slung over the back of a seat as if the owner merely stepped away for a smoke and will be back any minute now. They won't. A siren sounds in the distance, one long cry, then silence, then another, farther away, like whales calling through a dying sea. You cross the street slowly. The crosswalk's painted lines are faded, but your feet find them anyway, as if something inside you still believes in the rules. The don't walk sign is stuck on red. You stop for it. Not because you have to, because you remember doing so. Beyond the intersection, the road buckles slightly, as if the city itself has started to exhale. A crack runs down the center of the asphalt like a surgical incision. Weeds have started to grow in it. Fast, too fast. They don't belong here, but they're here anyway. There's a car ahead, turned onto its side, door hanging open. The driver's seat is empty. The passenger seat is too, but only just. There's something there, a coat maybe, or a shadow. You don't look long enough to be sure. You keep your eyes forward now. The silence is heavier in this part of the city. Not deeper, just more insistent. Like it wants to be noticed. Like it wants to be respected. You oblige. A breeze stirs old leaves along the gutter. They skitter across the road, dry and sharp and hollow. You hear a faint clicking, not metal, not bone, just something tapping its way into the edge of your awareness. You don't stop walking. You don't speed up either. A payphone rings. You freeze. It's impossible. But it rings again. It's just ahead. Still standing. Still upright. The glass booth is cracked but whole, and the receiver hangs slightly from its cradle like a broken limb. The ring stops before you reach it. Of course it does. You step closer anyway. The screen reads nothing. Just a black square, faintly reflective. You see your face there, or what used to be your face, or what you think it was. You step away. There's a dog lying in the road. Not moving, but not broken either. Just still. It's not yours. You never had one. But your chest tightens anyway. A storefront to your left collapses inward with a deep, resigned groan. Dust blooms from it like smoke. You flinch just slightly. Then you wait. Nothing else moves. You turn down a side street, narrow, shaded. The awnings above hang torn and limp like flags at half-mast. A mailbox leans against a fire hydrant. Someone's shoe sits in the middle of the road, upright, laces tied, no foot inside. But still, it waits. You move past it, carefully. A wind chime jingles somewhere overhead. 3 soft notes, and then nothing. The wind isn't strong, but it knows where to go. You find yourself at the mouth of another alley. You don't remember choosing this direction, but your feet have already started to turn. Inside, it's darker. The buildings press close again. There's something written in chalk on the wall to your right. A message, a plea, a warning. You can't read it. You don't try to. You just walk past. A ladder leans against the brick. Rust flakes onto your shoulder as you brush it. You don't climb it. But part of you notes that you could. The alley ends with a curve, just enough that you can't see what's beyond it. The silence leans harder here. Not hostile, not even expectant. Just present. You round the bend. There's a door. It's painted green, peeling at the edges. A brass handle, dulled by time and use. No lock you can see, but you know it won't open. Not yet. You place your palm flat against it. The wood is warm. And behind it, just barely, you hear something. Not a growl, not a voice. Just movement. Not near, not far, not dangerous. Just there. You lower your hand, and you sit. On the pavement, on the threshold, with your back to the door and your breath curling faintly into the still air. You sit, and the street holds you. The quiet hums again, softer now. Less like absence, more like memory. The kind of silence that lingers after laughter, or tears, or both. A light changes somewhere far away, not visibly, just the way a shadow bends across concrete. And in the distance, the wind chime rings once more, just once. And then, nothing. Just the hush of dust settling, and the faint impression of being watched, not by danger, not by God, but by a city that still remembers how to breathe. The hallway behind you still hums faintly, a vibration that stays beneath the skin, not quite sound, not quite silence. Somewhere above, the city breathes in its fractured way. Sirens in the far-off memory, power lines murmuring static lullabies to no one in particular. But down here beneath the hospital, the sound changes. It stops pretending to be part of the world. It becomes something else entirely. The stairwell was unmarked, not forbidden, not labeled, simply forgotten. The kind of space that doesn't hide, but waits. You pushed the door gently, felt the heavy shift of weight behind it, as though the air itself had been leaning against it for years. And now, one step at a time, you're descending into what feels like the space between thoughts. Concrete underfoot, damp edges, the occasional scuff of a shoe print that couldn't possibly be yours, but matches your pace anyway. Light here behaves like it's uncertain of its job. It flickers not with urgency, but confusion. Soft halos blink overhead, not quite bulbs, not quite stars, something between. Their hum rising and falling like breathing. You pass beneath one, and for a moment, its warmth brushes your cheek, as though reaching out to be remembered. Then it goes dark again, and you carry on, half seeing, half imagining. The walls are painted the color of stillness. Not white, not gray, just that color hospitals forget how to wear when their purpose runs out. A soft scratch on the far wall draws your eye. Not fresh, but still wet. You don't touch it. You don't have to. You know what blood smells like in a place it shouldn't be, like old copper coins held too long in a warm hand. There is a gurney just ahead, turned sideways, one wheel caught in a floor grate. The mattress is missing. Its frame leans like it's tired of pretending to help. You move around it slowly, careful not to bump it, though it feels like no one here has moved anything in days or years. Still, you walk as though you might wake something. Not someone. Something. Down here the air is thicker. Not heavy exactly, but patient. It tastes like recycled breath and forgotten antiseptic, like something once sterile but long since surrendered. Your own breathing becomes louder to you, closer, like it doesn't want to leave your body once it's escaped your lungs. Each exhale trails behind you like a tether. A door stands ahead, chipped, warped with age or water or both. The sign reads B2, Auxiliary Storage, but the letters are peeling, like they too are trying to slip away. The handle is warm. That's the first wrong thing. You pause, hand resting there too long. The warmth isn't welcoming, it's recent. Inside, the light doesn't work right. It turns on, but only part way. Like it's ashamed of what it shows. Shelves line the walls, too neatly stacked. Not dusty enough, not disturbed enough. You step between them anyway. Your shoulder brushes gauze that shouldn't still be soft. Your fingers pass a bottle that rattles with something that isn't pills. You don't look. In the far corner, the floor is wet. Not with water. Not with anything identifiable. Just a circle of damp that reflects you at the wrong angle. You kneel beside it, not out of curiosity, but fatigue. The tile beneath you sighs. The wetness doesn't soak your knees, but it should. That's the second wrong thing. You think you hear voices above, muffled, like through pillows or dreams. Names called out, maybe yours, but there's no urgency, no real attempt to reach you. Just tones echoing off too many walls, falling back into themselves. A chart rests on a nearby clipboard, half written, half crossed out. The handwriting is hurried in the beginning, then hesitant, then a long line across the page, as if the writer forgot what words were supposed to mean. You try to read it, but the language feels medical and personal and unreachable all at once. You set it back down, careful not to leave fingerprints. Somewhere beyond this room is another door, the kind that opens only halfway, groaning like it's forgotten how. Beyond it, a hallway with more pipes than walls. Steam hisses from a broken vent, warm and wet and almost comforting in a way that feels inappropriate. The light here is red, not danger red, just the kind that comes from somewhere broken, like a warning no one believes anymore. There is a wheelchair overturned beneath the exit sign. The wheels still turn. Someone must have passed here recently. You step past it, gently writing it with your hand. It thanks you in silence. You keep walking. Around the next bend, you find a file cabinet pushed open, not vandalized, not looted, just opened, like someone meant to come back and forgot. Paper inside flutters as if exhaling. Notes, test logs, half-torn forms. You flip one over. It's blank on the back. Still warm. That's the third wrong thing. You rest there for a while. Not because you're tired. You've been tired for a long time. But because the silence here is different. It's not empty. It's considerate. Like the building is holding its breath so you can catch yours. You lean your back against the wall and let your eyes close, just briefly. You hear nothing, then something, then nothing again. Far off, behind you, or maybe below, something metal falls. Not crash, not impact, just a sound of something placed too carefully, then slipping anyway. You don't jump. You just open your eyes again. The light has changed, not darker, just dimmer in a way that feels watched. You move on. A soft breeze touches your face near an air vent that hasn't worked in years. But the air is fresh, cold. You follow it. It leads you to a door left ajar, its hinges rusted but not loud. Behind it is a utility corridor, narrow, quiet, painted with old fingerprints and boot scuffs. The kind of place someone once used every day without thinking. Now it feels sacred, untouched. You stop at a water fountain. It runs, barely. The water is brown at first, then clears. You lean in but do not drink. The mirror behind it shows your face, but only when you don't look directly. When you do, it reflects the hallway behind you. That's the fourth wrong thing. Somewhere above, the hospital pretends to still function. You hear a phone ring once, then nothing. A generator hums with a rhythm that makes your teeth ache. You press your hand to the wall and feel it pulse back. Not alive, not dead, just present. A gurney passes an open door on its own, slowly, like drifting. There is no scream, no urgency, just motion. You step aside and let it pass. It does not look at you. You do not follow it. The next hallway is colder. Refrigerated air, medical tiles, whiter here, though smudged with age. The ceiling drips in places, steady and slow. You count the drops without meaning to. 12 before the next one misses the floor entirely, swallowed by something unseen. At the end of the hall, a security door waits. The panel beside it flashes green, then red, then nothing. You press your fingers to it, and the door opens anyway. There is no sound, not even from the hinges. Just a breath of air, slightly warmer, scented with iodine and something older. This room was meant for sleep. You see the cots, the IV hooks, the clipboards with sedation schedules. But the beds are not empty, not full either, just indented. Like someone rested there for a very long time, then vanished before they finished dreaming. You stand among them, not moving, not breathing too loudly. One bed has a photograph tucked beneath its pillow, a child's drawing, a sun with too many rays, a figure with a wide mouth and no eyes. You don't remove it. You just straighten the corner. The light above flickers once more, as if finishing a thought it never started. And somewhere behind you, barely audible, barely real, the faint sound of a monitor flatlining, soft, long, fading into hush. The flickering light behind you dims to a pulse, the kind that feels too synchronized with your breath to be accidental. That room, the one with the uneven hum, the metallic groan in the wall, the stairwell that whispered old regrets, is behind you now. But its weight has settled across your shoulders like a thin, wet towel, not crushing, just present, just enough to remind you that gravity is not only down, but inward. The hallway curves too slightly to notice at first. A gentle lean, like the spine of a building that never quite healed. You don't recall deciding to walk this way. Your feet carried the thought before your mind agreed, but something ahead holds you now, or waits, or remembers. It's the corridor no one mentioned, not directly. It lived in the way maps were folded too quickly, in the silence between footsteps, in the glance someone gave a locked door before choosing another. You heard it in the air, a pressure, a pause, a collective agreement to pretend this part of the hospital simply didn't exist. But you're here now. The floor tiles change underfoot, though their pattern doesn't. Somehow more brittle. They don't squeak. They breathe, like wood under strain, like lungs under bandages. Walls once white are now the color of old teeth, stained with the quiet yellow of bad dreams and fluorescent light that forgot how to glow properly. You keep walking, because you are already walking. The corridor is not straight, but not twisted either. It bends in the way memories bend, soft at the edges, curving to avoid the weight of something not yet understood. A gurney rests at a diagonal, its wheels frozen in angles that suggest movement once, but not now. A sheet lies across it, half off, like it resisted. You don't touch it. Farther down, the hallway narrows. Only slightly, but you feel it in your shoulders first, in the way your breathing adjusts to the space. Your arms draw in. The overhead lights stretch longer here, but not brighter. Shadows drip between them, forming a kind of rhythm. Step, pulse, step, flicker, step. There's a door on your right. Unmarked, closed. You think about opening it, but don't. The idea leaves your mind not with a decision, but with a release, like something exhaled through your spine. On the left, a bulletin board still clings to the wall with bent pins and curled paper. One flyer reads, "Blood Drive, Give Life." Someone has written, "It took mine," in red across the bottom. The ink has bled out, as though it tried to leave too. You turn a corner that you don't remember being there, and the corridor deepens. The sound here is different, dampened, not quiet, as though wrapped in insulation, as though the walls remember too many screams and have chosen silence as penance. You pass a window. No light comes through it. You realize after a long moment that it looks inward, not outside, into a room that has no furniture, only a chair overturned and something dark on the floor. You don't linger. You know when glass has held breath too long. At some point, you become aware of the temperature. It hasn't dropped, not exactly, but the warmth has gone hollow, like the kind of heat left behind after something alive leaves the room. Your breath is still visible. It curls not from your mouth, but from the corners of your thoughts. The corridor opens slightly just ahead. You can see a faint widening in the shadows, a place where the lights no longer flicker, but instead blink. Not failure. Pattern. Deliberate. Like eyelids trying to communicate in Morse code. You arrive in the space and stop. You don't remember stopping. The corridor has widened into a T, left and right, both ending in partial doors, both unlit. In the center, between them, stands a wheelchair. Empty, but not abandoned. The leather seat is worn, not dusty. One wheel is slightly turned, as if the person it once held had shifted, ready to speak, to rise, to return. You feel the memory of someone sitting there, not a ghost, not a vision, just the residue of presence, of waiting, of being seen once by someone who never saw you back. You do not sit. You breathe. Somewhere behind one of the doors, there's a soft scrape. It is not urgent, not hostile, just present. A slipper dragging across linoleum, a hand brushing the wall for balance, a life still practicing how to leave. You do not go toward it. You don't move at all. The corridor waits with you, and then gently, something shifts. The left door creaks. It doesn't open. Just sighs, a release of tension, a hint that it remembers how to function. You imagine your hand on the handle, the cool metal under your palm, the almost imperceptible give of machinery ready to yield. But you don't reach for it. You're not meant to. Instead, you notice something on the floor. A single glove, medical, latex, crumpled like a forgotten sentence. A name tag beside it, peeled from its lanyard. The name is faded, but the photograph still holds a face. Blurry, eyeless, smiling anyway. You kneel without knowing why. Your fingers hover above the tag, then lower. Not to pick it up, but to rest near it, as though proximity were enough to remember someone you never knew. Behind you, something shifts again. Not footsteps, just pressure. The sense of another breath entering the corridor. You don't turn. Some presences are not to be witnessed, only felt. You rise slowly, legs echoing the strain of hours folded into minutes. The lights above you dim again, just briefly, like a closing eye. The corridor seems to exhale, and with that breath, you turn. Not forward, not back, just sideways, into a smaller hall, one you hadn't seen until now. It curls like a question you're not ready to ask. Your footsteps sound different here, like walking through a memory of footsteps rather than the act itself. A soft sound follows you, a wheeled cart rolling without force, a whisper too slow to be wind. And somewhere far behind you, the door you never touched opens just a little more, just enough to let the silence out. The hallway behind you does not close. It simply fades, as though it has decided to look away. Your footsteps echo into themselves, swallowed by a silence that's been here longer than you have. You don't remember turning the corner. You don't remember choosing this direction. But now your hand is on the door, that peeling, paint-flaked slab of weight that resists more than just motion. It resists memory. It resists being known. You push, slowly. The hinges groan in their sleep, not loud, just tired, the kind of sound a throat makes when it hasn't spoken in days. The room inside smells faintly of antiseptic and something older. Not rot, not yet. Something coppery, like a secret trying too hard not to be noticed. This part of the hospital wasn't meant to be accessed casually. The lights, where they still flicker, hum in strange tempos. Some blink slowly, others stutter like nerves misfiring. It takes you longer than it should to realize there's no sound of plumbing, no gurgle of old pipes, no hiss of distant vents, just an expectant hush. You pass a sink. It's dry. The porcelain is cracked along one side like it remembers being struck in anger. You tap the faucet. Nothing. Then again, and again. A sputter, a cough, and then a thin ribbon of water, brown-tinged and slow, arcs forward and drips into the basin. It smells like iron. You lean closer, not because you want to, but because it feels like the sink is whispering, not in sound, but in presence. You remember a hotel bathroom once. Too hot, too humid, water coming out pink because the pipes were old. You'd laughed. Then, you don't laugh now. The next room is colder. There's a cluster of chairs pressed against the wall as if someone tried to barricade themselves in or out, but never finished the thought. A water cooler has tipped on its side, bottle empty, plastic mouth agape like it was trying to scream something it couldn't phrase fast enough. You step over it, careful not to slip. A gurney rests in the middle of the floor. No sheet, no straps, just the frame. There's something intimate about how it sits, not abandoned, not quite waiting, just there, like a memory that doesn't belong to you, but won't leave until you acknowledge it. You follow the corridor as it curves. This wing isn't on the map, or if it is, it's in pencil, smudged and barely legible. You try a door, and it swings open too easily. Behind it, a utility space, janitor's shelves, rusted lockers, a work sink. The faucet here is marked with a faded C. You turn it. Nothing. Then again. The pipe groans low, a sound from beneath the walls, deeper than it should be. The water that comes is thick, viscous. It spatters out, sluggish and dark. And for a moment you think, no. You know that it's not water. It stains the basin red. Not bright, not fresh. A dulled, dried sort of red. The kind left behind after too much has already happened. You don't scream. You don't recoil. You just stare. The smell finds you a moment later, metallic, earthy, bitter around the edges. You back away, slow. Your breath is heavier now, like your lungs don't trust the air. The hallway is behind you, but it feels farther than it should be. You step out and the lights above buzz louder for just a second, as if you've disturbed them. Further down, a fire door is propped open by a yellow mop bucket. Someone wrote "Don't" across the wall in something that was red once, but now just looks brown. The mop handle is cracked, and the bucket is half full of something that was once water, but now congeals with strange things at the bottom. Cloth? Hair? You don't check. The next corridor bends inward. The tiles shift to something coarser beneath your shoes. Concrete now, not polished. And the walls sweat, faintly, like the building is trying to warn you, or maybe it's just leaking its own memories. You find another sink, smaller, mounted at an odd height. The mirror above it is cracked diagonally. You don't see yourself clearly, just enough to know it's still you, mostly. The faucet here doesn't wait to be turned. It's already dripping. Slow, steady, thick. Drip, drip, drip. The color is wrong again. Pink at first, then darker, then clear. You run your fingers under it. It's warm, too warm. You smell it. Iron again, like the inside of your cheek after you bit too hard. You feel dizzy, not from fear, just from being here too long. Somewhere in the wall, a pipe knocks, a hollow, echoing thunk that happens once, then again, then not at all. As if something inside shifted position, you place your palm against the tile. It's cold, except in one place. There, it's warm, and faintly beating. You move on. You don't want to, but standing still feels worse. The corridor narrows, becomes a tunnel almost. Lights are spaced further apart. The hum fades. The shadows deepen. There's a door at the end, marked in chalk. The writing's too faint to read. Or maybe your eyes just don't want to. You push it open, slowly. The hinges don't complain this time. Inside, the air is thick, not foul, just heavy, like it's been breathing its own breath for too long. There are more sinks here, dozens, mounted in rows, some broken, some pristine. Each one drips at a different rhythm. You stand among them, surrounded by the sound, a room of faucets weeping, some fast, some slow, none quite syncing up. You close your eyes. It sounds like rain, if rain were apologizing. You kneel by one. The water is clear. At first, then a streak runs through it. Red, then clear again, then red again, like the pipe itself can't decide what it remembers. You don't touch this one. You just let it drip. A voice murmurs, distant. You can't tell if it's through the wall or through the floor. You don't move, you don't breathe. You listen, but it doesn't come again. The sinks continue. The pipes moan, and something deeper still shifts in the plumbing. Not just water, not just memory. You stay a while longer, just long enough to believe that none of the faucets are actually connected to anything, that they're bleeding something older than water, that every time you look away, the pattern of the drips changes. Eventually, you rise, your knees crack, your breath shakes, you step out. The hallway has brightened slightly, but only in contrast. The darkness behind you felt thicker. You feel it clinging to your sleeves like mist. One more sink. One more room. One more whisper through the walls. You don't know what's in the water here, only that it shouldn't be in you. And as you walk forward toward the next flickering light, you notice the red smear on your wrist. Small, faint, but definitely there. You don't remember touching anything, but the water remembers you. And somewhere, behind the walls, the pipes knock once more. Soft, familiar, like a heartbeat, fading. The pipes still tick behind you, cooling, contracting, settling like old bones after a long, uneven breath. The whole building exhales in slow metallic pulses, as if relieved to still be standing, even if it doesn't quite know why. The scent of rust lingers faintly on your palms, not sharp now, but stained into the skin like something that won't forget. Your footsteps feel hushed, not because you're quieter, but because the walls here seem to listen more intently. You don't walk into silence. You walk into attention. A hush that isn't empty, but awake. Somewhere ahead, a crackle stirs the air. Soft at first, barely more than static, then rising into something more deliberate. It scratches at your ears like a whisper filtered through wool, rough-edged and uncertain. You think for a moment that it's just the wiring, another old vent struggling to remember its purpose. But then it shifts, shapes itself, not into words exactly, but into the suggestion of them. A voice emerges, fragile and hollow, like something made of parchment and smoke, stretched thin across memory. Overhead, an intercom system begins to murmur, one you hadn't noticed before. It blends into the ceiling like a scar beneath paint, a line of wire and plastic threading the corridor like an old vein still learning to pulse. It doesn't speak to you, exactly. It speaks through you. The sound brushes the edge of something you once answered to. Not your name now, but close. A name worn smooth with time. A sound that might have belonged to you when your reflection still looked like someone else. You follow it without knowing why. Your feet begin the motion before your mind consents, like being pulled forward by gravity that isn't anchored in the ground. The corridor curves, gentle and strange, bending like it's remembering how to be kind. The paint flakes in long curls, and the overhead lights blink in pairs, like tired eyes struggling to stay open. Your steps are muffled, eaten by the walls, as if the building itself has learned to detest noise, or to protect the things that dwell in quiet. At the end of the corridor, a small black speaker box clings to the wall. Dust has gathered in its corners like ash in old lungs. A red light pulses faintly behind the grill, slow and unsure, not flashing, just beating. The voice returns, more coherent now, not clear, but closer. A phrase that might once have been a plea, or a warning, or simply a hello. You don't catch all the words. They come twisted and wet, but the tone, that part slips into your skin. It sounds like someone who knows your weight, your pace, your shadow. Like someone asking you to come home, even when they no longer remember the shape of home themselves. You stand beneath it, letting the voice pour down like old rain, and something unfolds inside you. Not memory, but the ghost of one. The outline of a desk, the cool edge of a keyboard under weary fingers, a half-eaten dinner, the buzz of fluorescent lights, laughter in the next room that never quite included you but warmed you just the same. A photograph turned face down, the smell of fast food and bad coffee. You blink, and it's gone. The hallway remains, unyielding, still flickering. A door opens beside you, slowly, like a sigh made visible. You didn't touch it. It isn't broken. It's offering. A space pulled ajar not by mechanics but by memory. You step toward it because you don't know what else to do. Because forward is easier than stillness. Inside, the air is colder, not in temperature, but in tone. A kind of chill that lives in places where too much has happened and not enough has been healed. This room has its own intercom, newer, cleaner, with a soft green glow. No dust, no grime. The voice comes through again, quieter now, as though it's aware of its own presence, as though it's apologizing for existing. You lean closer, not to hear the words, those are still scattered, but to feel them better. And for the briefest moment, the cadence becomes someone you knew, not a face, not a name, a presence, the pause before they spoke, the way they shifted their weight beside you, the silence between sentences, thick with unsaid things. You don't answer, not because you can't, but because to speak would be to break something fragile, something still mending in the air. Your voice doesn't belong here. It would rupture the quiet like glass. So you remain still, breath tethered, fingers slack. The walls around you are clothed in half-erased medical charts, scribbled warnings, schedules for surgeries that never happened, a child's drawing with no name, and in the corner, barely legible. If you hear it again, follow it. So you do. You step back into the corridor, turn right, descend into a stairwell where light has given up. Your footsteps echo now, slow, certain, uninvited. The air here smells like bleach and something sweeter underneath it. Not perfume, not decay, something older, the scent of memory turning soft. Below, the voice changes again. Same rhythm, same breath, but heavier now, laden with something it can't quite say aloud. You don't understand the words, but you feel their edges, like the ache in your jaw after holding in a scream, like the shake in your fingers when you hold something too delicate, too dear. The voice isn't warning, it's remaining. It's choosing to still be heard. You pass a room left ajar. Inside, an overturned chair, a clipboard, still cradling its pen, a monitor blinking with an error that no one will fix. The speaker in the corner is silent, but the air around it feels thick with anticipation, like breath held too long, like something waiting to be remembered. You keep walking, because stopping feels more dangerous now. Not unsafe, just impossible. The hallway widens, becomes less of a corridor and more of a suggestion. Behind you, the voice rises again, this time with urgency. Not panic, just insistence. The sound of someone repeating themselves, gently, desperately, hoping someone finally listens. You turn. There's no one there, but the voice is. And in that moment, it's almost yours. Almost enough to make you speak. But you don't. You continue on, past doors that refuse to open, past shadows that don't shift. The building breathes with you now, not in rhythm, but in recognition. You're part of it, not claimed, just understood. The voice follows, no longer overhead, but in the floor, the vents, the thin warmth behind your neck that might be breath or memory. Eventually, you find one last speaker, or the last you're meant to find. The grill is dented, the plastic cracked, the light glows yellow, a soft, bruised gold, not warning, not invitation, just there, present. You place your hand on the wall beside it, and the voice speaks one final time. It says something, not a sentence, not a name, a sound, one that might mean anything, or everything. Stay. Go. I remember you. You lean toward it, letting the vibration settle between your ribs. You don't try to hold it, but it holds you. Then, a click. Not sudden, not sharp, just an ending. The hallway ahead curves again, into shadows that wait for something to move. And somewhere far behind you, a new voice begins. Different, distant, still searching, still calling. The floor beneath you hums with it, like something beneath your skin still remembering how to be called. The intercom faded like a voice walking backward through time, until all that was left was the outline of a sound and the faint heat of attention, like someone had stared too long and then turned away. The air carries that weightless feeling now, not clean, not safe, but somehow paused. You step through the next set of doors, and the atmosphere shifts. The hospital's fluorescent hush doesn't follow you here. The artificial light dissolves. The air thickens, older, humid, tinged with bark and metal. Something green once grew here. Something wild once watched through glass. You're standing at the edge of a place that should not still be breathing. The gate before you is half open, its hinges crusted in rust, like old bones trying not to creak too loudly in the company of ghosts. Beyond it, walkways twist like childhood memories of a park you barely remember. Winding around exhibits no longer labeled, their signs weathered into gray smudges. You don't recall choosing this direction, but your body brought you here, not by logic, but by something softer, something older than reason, something that smells faintly of fur and earth and quiet hunger. A zoo. That's what this was. Maybe still is. You can't yet tell. The quiet doesn't feel empty. It's padded, soft in the wrong places, like fur stretched over the wrong shape. No voices, no footsteps, no echoes. But the foliage stirs when you don't look. The trees seem to lean slightly away from you. The benches sag as if tired from decades of silent observation. And there's that pressure behind your ears. Not quite sound, but something just like it. Like a low growl remembered rather than heard. You begin to walk. The path is cracked but navigable. Weeds rise through the cement like green veins. A torn trail map flutters against a low fence. The ink has bled, the plastic peels, but a glimpse catches your eye. The lion enclosure, the reptile house, the aviary. The name surfaces in your mind like an old song you forgot you knew. Raccoon City Zoo. Not something you say aloud, just something someone once said long ago. Maybe. To your right, a sign swings lazily above an abandoned snack kiosk. Snack bar, open daily. The letters are chipped into tiny islands of paint adrift in rust. The windows are shattered. The metal gate jammed halfway down. Inside, plastic straws lie scattered like bones, and a soda cup rests on its side, its logo rubbed into nothing. But by the counter, something newer. Drag marks, faint and wide. The kind that something heavy might leave, or something that was moved, unwilling. You don't step inside. Instead, the path winds you to the first enclosure, wide and low, once home to something gentle. Deer, perhaps. Gazelles. Now the fencing sags inward, as if something larger leaned into it with deliberate weight. The grass inside is tall, thick, hiding vague shapes that neither move nor settle. The silence here feels intentional, not natural, curated, as if the hush itself were part of the display. You keep going, your breath slow, your feet soft. The zoo doesn't mind you. It doesn't welcome you either. It accepts your presence the way ruins accept moss, with indifference. It swallows you gradually, wrapping you in overgrowth and the scent of memory-soaked rain. The sky grays above, soft clouds folding together like lint in a corner. The air cools. You hear your breath now. Near the center, the exhibits form a rough circle. The fencing is torn in places, the concrete cracked like ripples around an old impact. A kiosk buzzes suddenly to life, powered by something forgotten. A child's voice stutters from its speaker, bright, automatic, wrong. Welcome to the zoo. Did you know that tigers sleep up to 16 hours a day? It cuts off mid-word. The silence that follows is worse than before. You pass beneath a skeletal arch of molded branches and mildew-dark wood. Beyond it, the scent shifts. Iron, stone, something low and damp. The reptile house. The door yawns open. Or maybe it never closed. Inside, the air is colder. Not from climate, but from emptiness. The terrariums gape like broken mouths. Glass shattered. Heat lamps long dead. The dust has settled like frost over everything. There's no motion. But you are not alone. The space hums, not electrically, but instinctively. Like something here still believes in territory. A child's drawing clings to one wall, taped on printer paper, now curling at the corners. A wide-grinned snake drawn in green crayon. Beneath it, a name. Oliver's favorite. You don't know who Oliver was, but the air still holds his laughter, briefly. You move past a tank whose glass has cracked clean across. A smell clings to it, algae maybe, or wet cloth left too long. You don't investigate. Behind you, the door swings closed without your touch, and just like that, you're outside again. The air denser, warming. The path inclines now, up toward what might have been the aviary. The netting above is torn, not shredded, but scored, as if something tried to carve language into the sky. Feathers litter the path, some fresh, some fossilized into dirt. One white wing bone juts up from the ground like a question someone stopped answering. You sit for a time on a crooked bench beneath a dead palm. It holds your weight. Barely. It groans like it remembers comfort. You watch the exhibit breathe. You wonder if the birds still remain. Not alive, perhaps, but present. Watching. Waiting to be remembered. The zoo feels different now. Not darker, but dream thick. The signs blur, the paths twist. The temperature pulses. Warm here, cold there. As though the place itself remembers too many climates and hasn't decided which one to keep. You come to a sign knocked half over, its painted arrow pointing toward the big cat enclosure. It leads through a tunnel of chain-link fencing. You follow. The sound beneath your shoes changes, softer now, padded, as if paws once walked here, or still do. At the edge of the exhibit, you stop. It's open, not broken. Open, as though something unlocked the gate and left it ajar with intention. You don't enter, but you peer in. Claw marks scar the concrete, not erratic, but etched, measured. A message scratched into a language only muscle and instinct understand. Above you, something lands. Soft. Twice. You do not look up. You move on. You pass toppled vending machines and the hollow bones of a gift shop. A stuffed tiger lies face down in the gutter. Its fur is matted. One button eye missing. You almost pick it up, but not quite. The zoo doesn't end. It fades. No gates, no fences. Just the sense of having left something behind, or taken something with you. In your ears, something continues. Rhythmic, organic. Not quite a sound. A presence. A pulse. The zoo wasn't empty. It just remembered what it used to be. And behind your eyes, something warm and watching still hasn't blinked. It follows you out of the silence. That strange, prickling sense of being watched by something that shouldn't remember how to watch. The sky overhead is pale, not quite dawn, not quite night. It glows faintly behind clouds, like thin parchment held over a candle. You've left the echoes of the intercom behind, but they left something in you. A hum in the bone, a vibration just below thought. You try to walk quieter now, though the gravel beneath your shoes seems to disagree, announcing each step with small, sharp protests that vanish too quickly to catch. The fence comes into view slowly, through a curtain of mist that hugs close to the ground like an old habit. Barbed wire crowns its edge, not twisted in warning, just drooping slightly, like it has given up keeping anything in or out. A faded sign hangs lopsided on one of the posts. Its lettering is nearly gone, peeled away by years of weather and neglect. But even without words, the shape of the warning remains. The kind of shape that once meant lions, tigers, exhibits. There is a hush here that's different. It's not the hush of emptiness, but the hush of something breathing where it shouldn't. The path forks at the gate. To the right, a broken turnstile leans into the bushes, half swallowed by ivy. To the left, the visitor center's windows glint like eyes, too clean, too still. But the gate in the middle is open, just enough to suggest that something else opened it, something with a reason. You step through, because there's no reason not to anymore. And even if there was, it wouldn't be stronger than the pull of what lies ahead. The path under your feet changes, brick, then dirt, then a soft mat of leaves that muffles you with each step. Signs of life are everywhere, but they don't move. Benches splintered by rot. A balloon stand without balloons. A map with smeared lines, its corners curled in protest. Somewhere, a speaker lets out a single, warbled chime, like it remembers it was once supposed to play music. But nothing follows. There are cages, of course. Rows of them, each one styled with artificial rocks or logs, as though painted by someone who once saw a jungle through a postcard. Most are open now. Some look as if the locks were never engaged. One or two still carry the trace of a placard. Capra Hircus, or Lynx rufus, names given in hopes they would make things safer. But the only thing alive here is the wind, and even that moves cautiously, as though afraid to make a decision. And then, in the distance, you hear it. Not a roar, not even a growl, just breath. Heavy, deep, weighted like old doors and older memories. You freeze because your body remembers something before your mind does. That shape, that sound, that presence that once lived behind reinforced glass. Except the glass is gone now, and the presence remains. You don't run. Running would break the spell, and spells are all that's keeping you safe now. Instead, you turn slowly. The trees are thinner here, and beyond them, too far, too close, you see the enclosure, or what used to be one. The metal bars are bent outward, not snapped, not broken, just parted, as though the lion left quietly, on purpose. There's a shape by the feeding trough. You don't breathe, but the shape does. Its shoulders rise and fall with an awful stillness, like waves that have forgotten how to crash. It doesn't look at you, not yet, but the angle of its body says it could, and would, and maybe already has. You can't tell if it's alone. The trees make it hard to be certain of anything. You move again, carefully, tracing the edge of the walkway that was once meant for guests. Every few steps, a small sign reminds you to stay behind the rail. There is no rail anymore. You reach the viewing platform. It creaks beneath you. A squirrel, or something shaped like one, darts out from under a bench and vanishes into a pipe. For a moment, you envy its clarity, its direction. Behind you, something shifts, not footsteps, just weight, redistributed, reconsidered. You find yourself remembering school trips. The smell of soft pretzels, the cold metal of coin-operated binoculars, the sound of someone's little brother screaming at a bird. It comes back all at once, as if to anchor you, as if to remind you there was a time before now. You grip the railing that isn't there and watch the creature breathe. It moves, just slightly. Head up, ears twitching. Not alarmed, not angry, just aware. Your heart makes a decision before you do. It slows, just a little, as though it knows panic will only feed the memory. You take a step back, then another. The platform winds beneath you, but not enough to matter. You reach the slope of the path again. Gravel crunches underfoot, a whisper of departure. You don't look back, but the feeling follows. You pass exhibits that never held anything, enclosures that were always just for show, a penguin sign next to a dry basin, a reptile house that still hums with the low electric groan of forgotten heaters, and then the path splits again. One sign, still legible, points toward large predators, another toward gift shop. Both seem absurd now, but the absurdity is comforting, like a familiar lie. You take the gift shop path, because of course you do, because it promises souvenirs, trinkets, something to hold in your hand when everything else is too heavy. The shop is mostly glass, shattered but intact in spirit. Racks of postcards still turn in the wind, though no one touches them. Stuffed animals, their fur yellowed and stiff, lie in a pile by the register. A snow globe rests on the counter, its water long evaporated, its flakes stuck to the sides like peeling paint. You pick it up anyway, shake it once. Nothing moves, but your hand remembers the weight. Behind the counter, a curtain flutters slightly. You don't check, you just move on. There's a mural on the wall. A lion, mid-leap, caught forever in the moment of flight. Its eyes are wide, not with anger, not with hunger, but with something else, something that feels eerily close to understanding. You sit, just for a moment, on a bench outside. Your knees ache in a way that doesn't feel entirely physical. The wind has returned, bringing with it the faintest hint of copper. Not fresh, not threatening, just present. There's movement again, not loud, just deliberate. You don't look, but you know. Somewhere in this place the lion still walks, not chasing, not hunting, just remembering, the way you are. You stand again, slowly, carefully. The sky hasn't changed. The light is still that strange half-glow, the color of uncertainty. You follow the path to the gate, where the fence parts with quiet reluctance. There is no roar behind you, no warning, just the sound of breath, steady, sure, and no longer entirely separate from your own. You don't run. You never ran. And maybe that's why you're still here. As you step beyond the last sign, the one that once welcomed children and chaperones and idle summer days, the wind shifts again. Warmer now, almost kind, carrying with it the echo of something too deep for words. And in that echo you hear it, not a roar, but a low, distant sound. A sound that knows your name and chooses not to speak it. Just yet. The wind doesn't follow you underground. It lingers for a breath at the threshold and stays behind, unwilling to descend into the stillness. The stairs down are slick with age, lit by tired bulbs that don't hum, just glow faintly, like dying memories. Each step echoes differently, like the stairwell can't decide how deep it wants to go. Your hand brushes the rail, and dust clings like it remembers being touched. Even your footsteps hesitate, not from fear, but from reverence. Some places do not want to be rushed through. The tiled walls curve inward as you descend. Posters peel in layers, one for a concert that never happened, one for a movie that was canceled before its premiere, one for a toothpaste that promises a smile you no longer see in strangers. They flutter in still air, rustling not because of wind, but because something breathed nearby once, and the memory of that breath still lingers in the grout. The station platform yawns open ahead, wide and empty. The tracks curve off into dark like a vein that forgot its destination. The benches are arranged politely, still facing forward, still pretending someone might sit and wait. One of them holds a single folded newspaper, untouched except for a smear of something brown across the sports section. You don't touch it. There's nothing inside you need to know. There is a clock. Its hands are stopped, but the second hand still trembles faintly, as if unsure whether to start again or fall backward into sleep. A loudspeaker creaks on somewhere overhead. Not to speak, but simply to remind you it's still capable of noise. And then, just beneath it, a chime. A low, mournful melody meant to signal an arrival. You look down the track, but there is nothing. Just darkness and the faint shudder of metal long abandoned. And then, lights. They come first as a shimmer. Not headlights, exactly, but awareness. Like the tunnel is remembering how to glow. Then the shape of the train. Not fast, not loud, just steady. Like something returning from far too long away. It doesn't screech as it brakes, it exhales. The doors part with a sound too soft to be mechanical, and for a moment, you do not move. You shouldn't board. You know that. But your body leans forward anyway. The threshold calls like a half-finished sentence. Inside, the air is warmer and wrong. It smells faintly of rust and carpet cleaner, of spilled soda and old arguments. The seats are too orderly, not a wrinkle, not a bag, not a sign of anyone. But someone sat here once. Many someones. Their warmth has faded, but not their pressure. You take a seat near the window. It's scratched by fingernails and names. Someone carved initials here, but the second letter has been worn away. You wonder if they still remember who they were supposed to be with. The train lurches, not forward, not back, just alive. The lights above flicker once, then hold steady. You don't remember asking it to move, but it does. The tunnel outside shifts slowly. A smear of brick and grime and occasional broken glass that catches the overhead lights like stars in a stream. The sound of motion is strange here. Not wheels, not tracks, just a rhythm that doesn't match the body. You pass the first station without stopping. No announcements, no names. Just a blur of tiled columns and a single vending machine blinking error in red. You think you see someone sitting on the bench, but they don't look at you. Their shoulders are too square. Their hands are too still. The train doesn't ask, it just keeps going, car after car, all empty. You stand eventually and wander through the connecting door. It opens too easily. The next car is the same. Slightly different lighting. Slightly different scent. The air here is colder. A jacket lies draped across a seat. You don't touch it, but the sleeve moves slightly as you pass, like it wants to be remembered. There's an umbrella on the floor, snapped in half. The fabric is red. You don't think it started that way. The next car is darker, not by much, but enough that the windows reflect your face instead of the world. You look at it for too long. Your eyes are dull, but your breath still fogs the glass, and that's something. There is a conductor booth at the far end. The door is locked. A clipboard hangs beside it. The paper is blank except for one word, Continue. It's written in pencil, and the pencil is gone. The lights flicker again. This time you feel it. Not the darkness, but the heartbeat. The train has one. It beats slow and wet, somewhere beneath your feet, like it remembers carrying cargo heavier than people. The intercom crackles again. A voice, male, female, broken. It says something you almost hear, then cuts out. Not static. Silence. The kind of silence that listens to itself. You sit down again, this time near the rear door. The seat is damp. Not enough to stain, just enough to feel like someone left only moments ago, and maybe they did. You pass another station. This one is lit, bright white, empty, except for a stroller tipped on its side. The wheels spin slowly, without wind. You close your eyes. Time softens here. You could be riding for minutes, or hours. The train stops once, not at a station, just in the dark. You don't get off. No one does. A hum builds in the walls, like voices whispering from behind paint. Then the brakes release, and forward returns. You open your eyes again when the advertisements change. The same posters now show different faces. Older, or perhaps younger. The woman with the shampoo bottle now has empty eyes. The family in the car ad is missing their mouths. You try not to look, but the more you try, the clearer the images become, until they look like memories. Yours. Almost. One final car. You move toward it slowly. The floor here creaks, and not where you step, like something else is walking just behind your sound. The last door opens, and this car smells different. Cleaner. Cold. A row of lockers line the wall. Some are ajar. Inside one, a pair of shoes, neatly placed. Inside another, a photo. A man with his arm around someone whose face has been scratched away. A mirror spans the length of one side, cracked but functional. Your reflection doesn't move exactly when you do, just slightly off. Half a second late, like it's tired, like you are. You sit again. There's nothing else to do. Outside, the tunnel ends. You see light, not electric but real. Sunlight, weak, pale, but it's there. The train begins to slow, this time with sound, not screeching, more like sighing. The brakes exhale dust. The lights dim but do not die. The door ahead opens before the train has fully stopped. You step out onto the platform. It's cracked. Wild grass grows between the stones. There is no sign, no name, just a bench, and the faint shape of letters on the wall, long since scrubbed away. You do not know where you are, but the air smells different here. Less stale, more honest. The train behind you stays open for a while, as if waiting. Then, with a gentle lurch, it slides away. No sound of engines, just the whisper of motion. It does not look back. You stand alone on a platform that forgot its city. Above, stairs rise into gray. You climb them slowly. Your legs ache. But it is a quiet ache. Earned. The last step leads into a place not yet broken. You turn once, just once, to see if the tracks still remember you. They do, but they say nothing. And you go on, with the soft scent of electricity still on your sleeve. The stairs behind you do not disappear. They only narrow, dissolve into vines and shadow, until they are no longer a path, but a memory of one. The platform, the train, the echo of metal wheels, all of it fades behind you like breath on a mirror. In front of you, the world exhales. Soft wet. Green. Not quite morning. Not quite night. A space between hours. You step into it because there's nowhere else left to step. The trees rise slowly, as though they've only just remembered how. Their trunks stretch upward like ribs, old and knotted and listening. Bark flakes in patterns that look like eyes half closed in thought. Moss breathes where leaves do not, clinging to every quiet surface with patient hunger. The canopy above filters the light until even time feels green. You walk softly, not because you need to, but because the forest does. It asks for silence, and you give it. Each step leaves only the faintest impression. The path is not a path, not really. Just earth packed slightly flatter by the fear of others who walked before you, and perhaps didn't return. You feel their presence in the hush. Not ghosts exactly. More like a suggestion of warmth that never found a place to rest. The ground is soft beneath your soles. Too soft. It yields too easily, like something used to being stepped on. Something used to swallowing footsteps. Somewhere in the trees, something groans. Not close. Not far. Just real enough to make your skin slow down. The sound doesn't repeat. It doesn't need to. It has already threaded itself into your breath, into the tension between your shoulders. You glance upward, but the branches refuse to part. Light filters through in long, narrow slits, like the eyes of a mask you can't see behind. You don't look again. The air is thick with the scent of wet bark and rotting leaves. Not unpleasant. Just absolute. It clings to your hair, to your clothes, to the corners of your mind that used to store things like comfort. You walk slower now, listening not for danger, but for the lack of it, because that is more alarming. The forest is not quiet, but it has made a kind of peace with what it holds, a truce between roots and rot. You pass a broken fence, just one post at first, then another, then a sign, snapped diagonally like a wound, still bearing a word you don't fully read. The paint is peeling. The letters don't make sense in this light. But the shape of it, the warning shape, is still intact. You pause without thinking. Your fingers hover near the post, not touching. The wood is too damp, too splintered. It remembers hands that shook as they nailed it in place. Beyond the fence, the trees thin. Not entirely, just enough to create space, like a breath held too long. You step into it, and the temperature changes, cooler, lighter. The sound changes, too. Less canopy, more wind. Less forest, more clearing. But the stillness remains. Not artificial, just watching. The kind of stillness that notices if you trip. The kind that remembers the shape of every scream. There are enclosures here, shapes behind tall wire, gates bent open at strange angles, chains that hang without partners. One still swings, very slightly. You tell yourself it's the breeze. You don't repeat it. A feeding schedule is still pinned to a post. The plastic cover is yellowed and warped, and the handwriting beneath is a scrawl of names and numbers that seem too mundane to belong here. 8 a.m., raw beef. 12 p.m., sedatives. There are no animals listed, just times. You move past it before the silence can answer. Claw marks drag along one wall. Not sharp, not savage, measured, almost bored, like the movement of something pacing too long in one place. There are prints, too, in the dirt, wider than your palm and too deep to be recent. They lead toward a tunnel, and then they stop. You turn almost absently, and that's when you see them. Eyes, low to the ground, reflecting the dim light like stones polished underwater. You freeze, and they blink, but do not vanish. The breath in your chest forgets what it's for. And then, a sound. Not a growl, not a roar, just a low, rumbling huff, like an engine, or a sigh, or something deciding you're not worth the energy. The eyes disappear, but you don't move for a long time. When you do, your footsteps feel different. Not yours. As if something else is walking with you now, behind your steps, beside them. Not seen, not imagined, just present. The kind of presence that doesn't need to prove itself. You find a bench, half rotted, its plaque too tarnished to read. You sit anyway. It creaks beneath you, but does not collapse. It's been waiting for someone to sit, and you fit well enough. For a moment, you close your eyes. Just one breath. Just one. In that breath, you hear a growl, distant and uncertain. You open your eyes, but the forest has not changed. It never does. Not for you. You stand again. You walk again. You move because stillness feels too much like invitation. The trees press closer as you continue. Branches lean down like thoughts. One brushes your arm and leaves a streak of something you don't recognize. It smells like memory. Sharp, damp, old. You do not wipe it away. There is a sound now, repeating every few minutes. A low squeak, mechanical, unnatural in this place. You follow it, slowly, one step, then another. It leads you to a gate, half open, rusted through in places. A zookeeper's door, maybe. You don't know. But beyond it lies another path. Crushed gravel. Paved once. Forgotten now. You pass through the gate. You do not close it behind you. Some doors should remain ajar. The forest grows thinner here. More light reaches the ground, but it doesn't help. If anything, it makes the shadows sharper. You pass a sign that still reads its own name. Observation deck. You don't look for the view. You already know what you'll see. Trees, branches, empty cages that once held more than animals. The path narrows again, winding now, sinking with each step. You smell mud before you feel it, rich and full of things better left buried. Your shoes sink slightly, pull up reluctantly. The forest exhales again. And then another breath, not yours, not the forest's, a larger one, closer, behind the trees. You stop. You do not run. Running is noise. Running is hope. You wait. A paw print presses into the path ahead, fresh, deep, still forming. You do not wait for its maker. You move off the trail, into the undergrowth. Branches scratch, vines tug. The ground pulls at your ankles like old guilt. You do not stop. You only slow and slow again until you find a space barely wide enough to crouch. And you do. And you wait. The sound passes. Not walking, not stalking, just existing. A presence too large for this place, too heavy for the silence it carries. It moves without hurry, without interest. It is not hunting. It is not escaping. It is simply here. And that is enough to shift the entire forest around it. You don't move for a long time. Eventually, the sounds grow distant again. Still there, but less. You emerge slowly, leaves stuck to your sleeves, mud crusting your knees. You are not sure where the path is anymore, but the forest will decide that for you. You follow the way the wind tilts the branches. You trust the pull of habit more than logic. Eventually, there is a wall. Concrete, moss-covered, the edge of the zoo, the end of this part of the forest. There is a gate here too, bent but open. You step through it. Behind you, the forest still breathes, still watches, still remembers, but it does not follow. The forest did not speak your name as you left it, but it remembered the weight of your feet. Its silence was not forgiveness, only allowance. The last breath of damp pine receded behind you as your steps touched harder ground. Flatter, colder, the thrum of old concrete pulsing beneath the skin of roots and rot. Something waited here, not with hunger, not with hope, just presence. The door is half open when you find it, not ajar by accident but hesitantly, like someone once stood there with their hand on the frame, unsure whether to flee or descend. Dust curls at the threshold like breath held too long. But the air has a new pressure, not sound, not motion, just the density of memory resisting its own return. You duck beneath the frame. The ceiling hangs low, not by design, but by the slow collapse of forgotten weight. The hallway beyond is narrow and windowless. Each step lands with a softened scrape, the floor layered in grit and flecks of old paint. Overhead, the fluorescent tubes no longer glow. One hums instead, a thin, steady buzz, like a thought trying not to be remembered. The deeper you move, the more the temperature flattens. Not warm, not cold, just unnervingly stable, as though the building is pretending the outside world no longer exists. When the lights do return, they don't flicker. They simply appear, blank and impartial, revealing a corridor that already knew you were coming. The first door you enter bears no name. just a number you forget the moment your eyes move past it. Inside, a line of desks, impossibly clean. Not sterile, not hospital clean, but the kind of clean that comes from erasure. No papers, no pens, just ghosts. The faint outline of a clipboard, a smear where a hand once braced itself. A chair angled like someone sat there for hours, not moving. You don't sit. Not yet. Instead, your fingers trail across the edge of a table that ends in a groove. Too shallow for comfort, too precise to be accidental. A tray of instruments rests in the corner, sealed and watching. You don't touch them, but they know you're there. Farther down the hall, another door waits. This one has a keypad, long dead. The frame is warped, bent inward, as if something inside refused to be kept in, or something outside was desperate to enter. The scent changes the moment you step through. Chemical, bitter, not overwhelming, just stubborn, the ghost of a spill that still hasn't dried. Tanks line the walls, tall, cylindrical, each with a small window like an unblinking eye. Most are fogged. One is cracked, its glass veined with lines like old bone. Another still hums softly, not alive in the organic sense, but in the way sorrow can vibrate through metal and into your spine. A kind of grief that hums rather than howls. You pause beside a monitor, black screen still blinking. Not off, just waiting. Not dead, just unwilling to let go. You press a key, it doesn't respond. But behind you, somewhere deeper, something hisses, a latch engaging or disengaging. It's hard to tell the difference here. Harder to care. The lab slopes downward now. Barely, but unmistakably. Not a basement exactly. More like a descent into something meant to remain buried. You follow, not because you choose to, but because resistance feels like vanity. The hallway narrows. The lights buzz louder. The dust thins, like something else walks here more often than it should. At the junction, 3 paths unfold, none marked, no signs. The left hallway hums, the right one ticks. The center offers only silence, not peace, just a lack of performance. You take the center. You've had enough of places pretending to be alive. This hallway is different. The doors are sealed, their edges flush with the walls. Some still hold pressure. Some pretend to. Through a window, you see a room caught mid-thought, vials on racks, a chair pushed back just slightly too far, a coffee mug sweating into silence. Nothing moved. But something paused. A clipboard lies on the floor. You read the first line. Subject response. Accelerated. The rest begins to blur. Not because it's hard to see, but because your mind swerves away. The language is clinical. The meaning is not. Words that taste like copper. Syntax wrapped around harm. Another door releases with a hiss. A room of cages. All empty. All clean. The scent of bleach masks something else beneath it. Fur, fear, effort. One cage bears claw marks. Not deep, not violent, just pleading. As if something tried, not to escape, but to be understood. You don't stay long. The ceiling is too low. The walls too close, like they've been leaning in slowly over time. You find the elevator by accident. Its call button glows the red of old bruises. The doors part reluctantly, sighing open like lungs filled with dust. Inside, the floor is scratched, not randomly, but insistently. Scrapes etched into arcs and spirals, like someone moved in circles rather than straight lines. There's only one button, and it's already lit. The descent is wrong. Too smooth, too quiet. No gears, no motion. Just a sensation of being offered downward, like the building is no longer willing to wait. When the doors open, the air that greets you is thicker, metallic, intimate, a breath shared too closely. You step into a chamber that is not quite a lab and not quite a vault. The walls curve in a slow circle. Rows of metal drawers form a ring around you, wide as morgue slabs but deeper, coated, impersonal. One drawer is ajar. You do not look inside. You already know what absence smells like. There are monitors here, One plays something that tries to be footage, a loop, or fragments of a loop, a white coat, a strapped figure, a syringe, then static, then again, but slightly altered. No coat, straps broken, the light is wrong. The final frame freezes, flickers, holds. You sit, not from exhaustion, not from surrender, but because this room expects you to, because it was made for watching. Your eyelids lower, just a little. Not sleep, not vigilance, just that soft edge between. The screen paints your vision in ghost light. Beneath you, a pipe groans, long, low, aching, like the building is trying to forget its own design. You breathe in. The air tastes faintly of copper. You breathe out. The dust doesn't stir. From somewhere behind the wall, a ticking resumes. Not mechanical. Not quite. Just rhythm. Subtle. Familiar. Like the slowed heartbeat of something that's forgotten how to leave. You stay. Not because you must. Not because you're trapped. But because this place, with all its layers of silence, no longer demands anything. It doesn't scream to be understood. It only asks to be witnessed. So you do. You don't recall names or faces, only the shape of consequence, the feeling of glass breaking on the other side of a sealed door, the understanding that lights here do not flicker because they've already given up. You remember how ambition curdles when left alone too long. You remember eyes, lion bright, that follow even after the body is gone. You don't move. You don't speak. Eventually you rise. You pass through the exit the same way you came, slow, careful, as if stepping out of a memory that doesn't belong to you. Behind you, the lab settles, not in sleep, just in stillness, still breathing beneath the dust, still holding something it never finished becoming, still waiting for a name it knows you won't give. The light from the corridor dims behind you as the stairwell narrows, one footfall at a time, into silence. Not an empty silence, but a layered one, the kind that carries old footsteps, rusted door hinges, and echoes of things not spoken aloud. You feel your fingers brush the railing, the metal cold with disuse, textured with flaking paint and something softer, dust maybe, or ash, or memory. The hallway turns twice, not sharply, but like it's remembering its shape. The walls feel closer here, as if they've been slowly inhaling all this time, just waiting for someone to wander in far enough to be held. And you go, because there is nothing behind you except collapse, and nothing ahead but the promise of something not yet fallen. There is a door, crooked on its frame but still closed. You don't knock. The door doesn't ask you to. You just press your hand to it, feel the hollow resistance of it bow inward slightly, and then step inside before it can change its mind. It's colder here, not by temperature alone but by presence. This room does not welcome. It observes. Monitors stacked like totems along one wall, all of them blinking, though none of them seem to see. Static rolls upward like slow mist, each screen whispering a different language of forgotten images. A projector in the corner hums softly to itself, turning an empty reel as if trying to remember what it used to know. There's a desk, or what was once a desk. It's bowed in the middle, wood softened by time and humidity and grief. Paper curls upward like old leaves, yellowed at the edges, ink smudged into illegibility. You don't need to read it to understand what it says. You've read enough notes already. Desperate hands tend to write the same things. A chair sits in front of the screens, facing them, not turned away in fear or pushed back in haste, but right where it was last used. Someone sat here, not just once, but for hours, days, maybe more. The leather seat bears the shape of them, the indentation of long vigil, a ghost of posture. You hesitate, then lower yourself into it slowly, quietly, as though sitting down beside someone who hasn't quite left. The chair sighs under your weight. The monitors do not react. The reel continues its slow spin. And in that moment, the room feels full. Not with people exactly, but with their watching. You glance to your side, and for a moment, a flicker, a trick of glass and shadow, you think you see another face mirrored there, watching the monitors with you, a profile you might have seen in the reflection of a hospital window or the flicker of a storefront security screen. Familiar, not because it's known, but because it's been close to fear, like you. You turn back to the monitors, still static. One of them twitches, just a blink, one frame too many, and then back to snow. But you saw it, the shadow of a hallway, the flicker of movement, a doorway yawning open just a little too slowly. You lean forward. The chair creaks again, protesting your presence like the room itself isn't sure you should be here. Another monitor blinks, not in sync, not by command. They are not playing. They are remembering, and not just what they saw, but how they felt while seeing it. You breathe out. The air hangs still. There is a scent, old electronics, dust warmed by current, and something fainter beneath it, like scorched cloth, or antiseptic long since dried. You try not to assign it meaning. You glance toward the projector. Its reel slows for just a moment, then resumes as if it caught you watching. Its lens stares straight ahead, casting no image, projecting nothing. Yet the wall it faces is marked with residue, a rectangular halo where light once lived. Someone watched it here, sat where you are now, held breath, waited for answers, and when none came, perhaps they imagined their own. You think of the others, those you've met, if only briefly. Strangers made kin by silence and necessity. You wonder how many rooms like this they've found, how many monitors they've stared into, hoping to see themselves walk past, hoping not to see themselves fall. The floor beneath your feet is uneven, warped with time or heat, or the weight of too many days spent standing still. You shift slightly. Something creaks. Not the chair, not the desk. A sound further back, beyond the curtain at the rear of the room. You hadn't noticed the curtain until now. It's gray with dust, its pleats stiff, but it stirs faintly, as if something behind it is breathing. You rise, because what else is there to do in a room full of memories that won't speak, and step toward it. The floor softens, not in reality, but in sound. Your footsteps feel muffled, like walking through a dream that isn't yours. You reach for the curtain. Your fingers brush the fabric. It doesn't resist. Behind it, a smaller room, or a booth. One-way glass, long since clouded. A microphone cracked down the middle. Tapes on the wall, reel to reel, none of them labeled. Just numbers, meaningless unless you were there for the recording. You step inside, and for a moment the sound of the larger room vanishes. Not fades, vanishes. Like this booth does not allow the past to follow you inside. You sit again, this time on a stool meant to make people uncomfortable. You stare at the glass, and through it, at nothing. And yet, something stares back. Not a face, not a form, but an attention. Like the room remembers you better than you remember it. You stay there for a long while, maybe minutes, maybe hours, until the projector reel finally stops spinning, not loudly, not even noticeably, just eventually. You step back out. The monitors have all gone black, not off, not powered down, just finished. The chair remains where you left it, but now it looks empty. No longer an invitation, just an absence. You feel the weight of something you didn't pick up, like guilt, like inheritance. You don't take anything from the room, not a note, not a reel, not a tool. There is nothing left here that needs to be moved. Everything that mattered already happened. Everything else is just residue. As you reach for the door, your hand brushes the wall near the frame. You realize the paint is warmer there, only there. As if the room was pressing back, reminding you that observation is its only language. It doesn't explain. It doesn't reveal. It just watches, and it remembers. You close the door behind you. The latch clicks softly, like a whisper caught mid-sentence. In the distance, somewhere past the next corridor, a soft tone echoes. Not a scream, not a voice, just the sound of something turning back on, and the feeling that maybe it never really turned off. The walls no longer tremble, but the silence they leave behind is fuller than sound, as if it carries the weight of everything that has happened, and everything that refused to. The last hallway you left behind still presses lightly on your shoulders, not with memory, but with pressure, like water long gone still clinging to the inside of a pipe. Your fingers are pruned with sweat, not the clean ache of river skin, but the filmy kind born of gloves worn too long and hope held too tightly. And now you descend, not quickly, not willingly, but like breath sinking into lungs not yet ready to breathe again. The stairs are slick with condensation, old water pooling at the edges like forgotten puddles after the rain. The kind that reflects light, but not truth. Rust halos mark where rivets once belonged, and the banister, if it can be called that, is more suggestion than support. You don't so much walk down as melt downward, carried by the slow curve of time and gravity, your footfalls muffled by moisture that hasn't dried in days. The air shifts here, not colder, not warmer, just older, as if you've stepped into something that once lived and then changed its mind. The scent of mold is soft around the edges, not the sharp rot of the upstairs ruins, but the settled hush of long wet walls and patient decay. Something drips, always something dripping, not like a leak, more like a reminder. That water never truly leaves. It only hides in lower places. The corridor tightens. Your shoulders brush against pipes that once carried lifeblood for things now long still. There are valves here that no longer turn, and dials whose needles shiver even though the machines are dead. A light above flickers, not enough to guide, but enough to tease, casting your shadow not behind you, but in loops on the walls, as if even your outline isn't sure which direction you should be moving. Then you hear it, not sound, but motion in sound's clothing. A soft gurgle from behind a door you don't remember opening. A shifting, like something large forgetting how to be still. You freeze, not from fear exactly, but reverence, like you've walked in on a prayer whispered by something with too many lungs. But the sound fades. Or maybe you just move past it. The hallway forgets to tell you. There's a door now, half open, hinges swollen with dampness and regret. You touch it, and your fingers come away with the scent of metal that's been closed too long. Inside, the room yawns like a drained tank, floor ridged with rust trails and puddles that ripple without breeze. In the center lies a panel, bent, scorched, still warm. You think of hands that might have worked here, tapping buttons that didn't save them, typing codes that no longer mean anything. There are no bodies, but that doesn't mean no one died here. Not all deaths leave something behind. Past the control panel, a walkway curves over a pit, not deep, just uncertain. The railing ends abruptly, as if it gave up halfway. Below, water sloshes with the sluggish rhythm of something not stirred by wind, but by memory. Green-black, thick with things that once were names, it pulses without sound. You do not want to fall in. You do not want to know what it remembers. A voice crackles suddenly, a speaker on the wall, fizzing with static like breath caught in glass. No words come, just a reminder that language used to live here, that someone once thought this was a place where instructions could matter. You do not speak back. You move again, through another door. This one opens without protest, as if expecting you. And here, finally, the lab, or what remains of it. The walls are white, or were. Now they're gray with dust, with mold, with the kind of discoloration that doesn't stain, just settles in. Tubes line the counters, most broken, some still holding traces of things that should never have been liquid. Vials glitter in half-light like fallen stars, their labels worn to ghosts. A microscope leans on its side, peering eternally at a sample it no longer knows how to name. You walk softly here, not from fear, but respect. The quiet is sacred in the way graveyards are sacred, not because of what they are, but because of what they promise never to reveal. There's a clipboard near the sink, pages fused by water and time. The top one reads, Observation, Subject B16. And then the ink smudges into nothing. You do not need to know the rest. Beyond the lab, a narrow corridor leads to what must have once been containment, or preservation, or punishment. The glass is cracked, but not shattered. Behind it, something glistens, not moving, not entirely still. You feel watched, but not threatened, as if the thing behind the glass is too tired to care. Or maybe it already remembers you. There are scratches on the walls. Not deep, not angry, just persistent, as if someone spent days here trying to forget they were still real. A chair lies on its side, one leg broken. A boot print stains the floor in red that's too dry to be blood anymore, but too dark to be dust. You follow it until it stops. Just stops. Like whoever left it simply vanished into the air. Somewhere deeper, the hum begins again. That low, mechanical throb, heartbeat of a machine that doesn't know it died. You pass a generator that coughs once, then goes quiet. A console blinks faintly. One green light. One red. One that blinks with no label at all. You press nothing. The silence is too delicate. And then, water. Not flowing, not falling, just there. A room half filled, like a forgotten cistern, with steps leading into it like a sunken amphitheater. Reflections float across its surface that don't belong to you. Shapes with no source, shadows with no past. You kneel beside it, not to drink, but to listen. Water does not speak, but it carries voices. You hear one now, or think you do. Maybe it's your own, long gone and still echoing. You touch the surface. It's cold. Of course it's cold. But it doesn't sting. It welcomes, invites. You do not go in, but your hand lingers there. And for a moment, just a moment, the water holds it. Not pulls, not grabs, holds. Like an old friend who doesn't need to ask where you've been. And you realize this place wasn't abandoned. It was drowned, not by disaster, but by decision. Someone let it happen, or made it happen, or simply stopped caring whether it did. The lab didn't fail. It gave up. You stand, slowly, bones clicking like forgotten switches. And behind you, a ripple moves across the water's surface. Small, gentle, like a sigh. There is one last door. It leads nowhere new. Just a hallway you recognize. One you've passed before. Maybe not today. Maybe not ever. But it knows your footsteps. It curves the way memory curves. Too precise to be random. Too soft to be trusted. The lights above hum again. Faint, fuzzy. Not enough to guide. Just enough to let you know that someone, somewhere, once tried to illuminate this place. And then the hum fades. And the lights die one by one. And you walk onward. Still damp. Still whole. Still held. The scent of chlorine and time trailing behind you like steam. The alley fades behind you, wet, humming, breathing its last beneath a canopy of rusted fire escapes and tired, flickering neon. The walls are too close together here, slouching inwards like shoulders in the rain, like they, too, are trying to disappear. You carry the weight of silence now, a silence that isn't empty, but full of choices made, of names not said out loud, of doors opened and not returned through. The street tilts forward, drawing you in with the gentle insistence of a memory you don't remember wanting. You pass a sign that once welcomed visitors, now swinging slightly in the windless air. Its letters hang crooked, as though ashamed of what they used to mean. Below it, the asphalt gives way to concrete, and the concrete to worn linoleum. A strange transition, seamless and wrong, like a kitchen floor left behind by a building that forgot it was there. And just past that, the corridor narrows into something familiar. Too familiar. The smell hits first. Something like sweat. Something like metal. Something like yourself on a long, forgotten day. You step around a corner and the light shifts. It's the kind of room that should be empty, that wants to be empty. You feel that immediately. The way it resists your presence, like it's holding its breath, like it doesn't want to be seen anymore. A locker stands ajar. A boot sits under a bench, unlaced and turned toward the wall. There's a coat folded on the back of a chair. And then, farther in, the body. It's laid out like someone meant for it to be found, but didn't want to be the one to do it. The pose is too neat, the limbs too composed, the face. You hesitate. You have to look, and yet you don't want to. And then you do. And it's not you. But it could be. The resemblance is vague, not quite mirror perfect, but cruel in its echoes. Same uniform almost. Same shoes, scuffed in the same place. The patch sewn wrong on the same shoulder. You see details you didn't know you'd remember. A ring of worn leather around the collar. A tear just above the knee. There's a lighter in the hand, held loosely. The fingers already stiff, but not yet curled inward. You take it without knowing why. It clicks open easily, still works. You don't know if the breath you take is yours or the room's. There's no name tag. You try to tell yourself that matters. That if there had been a name, it wouldn't have been yours. That this is just coincidence. A shared uniform. A trick of light. A hallucination coaxed from exhaustion. But the silence doesn't agree. It wraps around your ankles like fog, like guilt, like recognition. You search for something else, something to explain it. A note, a badge, a photograph. But all you find is the slight impression in the dust where someone sat, recently, facing the body, long enough to leave a mark, long enough to say goodbye. You wonder if they saw the resemblance too. The hallway beyond the locker room leans downward, a slow descent that isn't marked on any blueprint you remember. The tiles become irregular. The walls shed paint like skin. There's water here somewhere, not loud, not rushing, but slow and deliberate, like it's thinking about whether it wants to be noticed. You follow it, not because you want to, but because you can't go back to the room with the body. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Another door opens too easily, and you step into a place with too many chairs and not enough people. A waiting room for something that's already happened. The magazines are swollen with damp. The coffee machine blinks red, stubborn and useless. There's a mirror on the far wall, cracked in a pattern that almost looks intentional. You stand in front of it. You expect to see yourself. But for a moment, just a breath, just the width of a blink, you don't. You see the other. The stranger in your uniform. The stranger with your posture, your eyes, your scuffed shoes and hollow gaze. He doesn't move. He doesn't need to. You flinch anyway, and the mirror becomes yours again. There's a hallway to the right. It's marked with a placard that's too faded to read. You take it anyway. The light here is different, not artificial, not electric. It feels like daylight filtered through something thick, algae maybe, or the fabric of time. The walls widen slightly, and there's a sound now, steady and soft. Breathing, not yours, but not quite someone else's either. The air changes temperature, warm to cold to warm again, like walking through someone's dream. You pass another body. Not the same. Not even close. This one has no face anymore. Just a smear of something that used to be someone. You don't stop this time. You don't look too long. You just keep moving. Because somewhere in the back of your throat, something is whispering that you've seen that one before too. Maybe not like this. Maybe not here. But enough to know that standing still will not make it better. You hear voices next. Not close. Not calling for help. Just talking. like in a memory, like in a room you once stood outside of, hand on the knob, choosing not to interrupt. Laughter, maybe. A name. Yours? It's possible. You pause beside a vending machine that hums like a funeral. You don't go toward the sound. You just listen. And then it stops, all at once, like someone realized they were being overheard. The corridor turns again, and now the floor is clean. Too clean. It smells like bleach and endings, like someone tried to scrub the past out of it. But the smell never quite covers it. Blood still lingers in the grout. Memory still clings to the handrails. You slow down without meaning to. And in doing so, you notice the door. Half open, with a plaque beside it bearing your name. Not your name? Not exactly. A version of it. An abbreviation. An alias you once used, maybe. Or someone used for you. But it's close enough that your breath catches anyway. You step closer. The door creaks slightly, not in protest, but in invitation. Inside, there's a desk, a cot, a clipboard, a half-full cup of water. Someone's lived here. Recently, maybe still does. You don't call out. You don't touch anything. But you sit, because the chair feels like it remembers you, the way it adjusts under your weight, the creak it makes in just the right place. You close your eyes for a moment, and it's like exhaling through time. There's a picture on the desk, face down. You don't want to pick it up, but you do. The image is blurred from water damage, or maybe it was always like that. But you recognize yourself anyway, standing beside someone you don't know, or don't remember knowing. They're smiling. You're not. You wonder which of you took the photo. You wonder which of you survived. You hear a sound behind you, but it's only the lighter, clicking open in your pocket. Still works. You put the photo down, face down again, and stand. The room feels different now, emptier, like it's exhaled something it was holding. The hallway outside waits patiently, and when you step back into it, the air feels newer. Not better, just less burdened. You don't know if you're following footsteps or leaving them. The floor doesn't tell you. It only echoes sometimes, and only when you're not listening. You pass a fire alarm that's been pulled, but never rang. A sprinkler that should have gone off, but didn't. A window that should show the city, but reflects only the hallway behind you. You don't pause to question these things anymore. You just catalog them, quietly, like symptoms, like weather. There's another locker room at the end of the corridor, and for a moment, just a breath, you think it might be the same one. But the boot is missing. The body isn't there. The coat has been moved. Or maybe this is the real one, and the other was the echo. You don't check too carefully. Some questions are better when they remain questions. You leave through the far door, and the light outside is soft, and the air smells like someone else's cologne. And somewhere behind you, something creaks that might have been a goodbye, or a name, or nothing at all. And still, the lighter in your pocket works. The hallway behind you doesn't close. It simply ceases. Light fades from it, like a memory curling in on itself. Ahead, the air grows cooler, thicker, grayer. A quiet that feels soaked into the walls, into the paint, into the bones of the building. You shift your weight forward, and the floor responds with a sigh. Long, tired, like it has held too many bodies for too long. Hospitals are supposed to feel sterile, bright, alive with humming machines and soft shoes and the low murmur of recovery. But here, every surface feels aged, used. The linoleum floor beneath your feet curls slightly at the edges, bubbled and torn in places like skin pulled back from a wound. The walls, a color you can't quite name, something between pale and gone, are dappled with water stains that bloom like bruises. You pass a fire extinguisher that has long since bled its red to rust. The door to the morgue is already ajar. It doesn't creak. That would be too dramatic. It simply yawns, just wide enough to invite you in without urgency, without resistance. A room that doesn't need to lure you, because it knows, eventually, everyone comes here. You push with one palm and the door accepts it, swinging open with the weight of forgotten promises. It's cooler here, but not fresh. The kind of cold that lingers in stillness, not brisk, just resigned. You inhale and regret it. The air is faintly sour, not putrid, not unbearable, just familiar in a way that coats the tongue. The fluorescent lights above flicker, not broken, just indecisive. The flickering makes shadows blink along the floor, drawing slow breath where none should be. There are too many gurneys. Some are parked along the walls. Others are pulled halfway into the room, mid-motion, as if abandoned in the act of being useful. Blankets are folded on some, others are not. On a few, shapes remain beneath the sheets, still, covered, anonymous. You don't look too long, not because you're afraid, but because you've started to recognize patterns in the folds. Human patterns, elbow angles, the curve of a chin. You drift past a line of labeled drawers, silver doors with handles like refrigerator pulls. They gleam softly in the half-light. Or maybe they don't. Maybe it's just your eyes playing games with you. The drawers are shut, mostly. Some are cracked open by a few inches, enough to see the dark within. You don't reach for them. You don't need to. One of them exhales, just a little, like lungs forgetting they were done. There's a desk in the far corner, steel legs, paper-strewn surface. Someone was here, recently or long ago, it's hard to tell. The calendar is still pinned above it, curled at the corners, stuck on a date that never arrived. A coffee cup remains, half full and molded into a science project. The papers have notes, scrawled in ink that ran when someone touched them with wet hands. Names, maybe, or codes. You don't read them. You just feel the weight of words no longer meant for anyone. The computer monitor still glows, blue and quiet. You don't try the mouse. It's sticky. A faint print is smeared across the screen, someone's palm, pressed flat against it in some forgotten moment. Desperation? Fatigue? It doesn't matter now. The screen displays a loading bar, frozen at 91%. It's been there a while. You imagine it's been there since everything stopped moving the way it was meant to. The morgue isn't silent. Not truly. There's a soft mechanical rhythm somewhere in the ceiling, like a pump that doesn't know it should rest. A cooler, perhaps, or something deeper. A hum that might be artificial, or might be the memory of breath. You pause. You close your eyes. You try to place it. You fail. There's a body on the floor. Not new. Not yet gone. Face turned just out of view, one hand reaching toward a cabinet as if remembering a routine. It wears a badge. You don't need to read the name. The curve of the shoulder tells you all you need. You step around it, respectfully, as if they still might notice. The morgue drawers are not empty. Of course they're not. Some don't close anymore. Others are labeled with strips of tape, rewritten and rewritten until the names became scribbles. You pass one that's been marked with an X. Just that. A single dark X. The drawer isn't closed all the way. You hear a drip coming from it. Slow. Measured. Not blood, not water. Something else. Something thicker than either. It doesn't matter. You keep moving. You find a hallway behind the morgue. A narrow corridor, lined with wheeled stretchers and body bags no longer zipped. The walls press closer here. The air grows heavier. You have to move sideways at times, as if the building itself doesn't want to let you pass. You see handprints on the walls, palm smears, some high, some low, as if people were dragged or clung for balance. One print has fingernails still embedded in the drywall. A stairwell leads downward. Of course it does. Cold radiates upward like breath from an open grave. You grip the railing, slick with condensation. The stairs do not squeak. They groan, a low, mourning kind of groan, like an old man trying to stand after too long seated. You descend, step by step, the light above fading with each footfall. At the bottom, another room, smaller, barely lit. A row of old examination tables, all full, not with bodies, but with the things left behind. Shoes, watches, a broken pair of glasses, a rosary twisted around a plastic ID band. Each item a sentence left unfinished, each one untouched but humming with memory. There's a small door near the back. Locked once, no longer. The handle turns with the casual ease of something that has forgotten how to resist. You push, and it opens. Not fast, not dramatic, just enough. Inside, cold, much colder. Refrigerated air kisses your skin, but not kindly. It feels resentful, like it's been waiting too long for someone to open the door. The smell is antiseptic, almost clean, but beneath it, something old, faint, like someone tried very hard to hide it. Formaldehyde, alcohol, paper dust. This is where they were trying to keep up, tagging, bagging, storing, until there was no more room. One wall holds a board, checklists long since stopped. The last names are scrawled. No order, no system, just an attempt to keep the numbers straight. But the numbers gave up. You move along the aisles, and each drawer has a story. You don't open them. You just feel them. A cold pulse from behind the steel. A presence not gone, not lingering, just paused, held in metal and fluorescent hum. Some of them hum louder than others. You find a gurney in the middle of the room, empty, but dented as if it held something heavy, something that didn't want to lie still. There are scratches on the frame. Not deep, just deliberate, a protest in metal language. You run your finger along them, and it comes back clean. Someone left their clipboard on a nearby counter. It's warped, soaked through once and dried again. The writing is smeared into watercolor shapes, but one line is still legible, a date, long past, circled, underlined, marked last viable storage. Underneath it, someone wrote one word in capital letters, overflow. The light flickers again. This time, it doesn't return fully. The corners grow darker. The cold grows stiller. You realize you've been holding your breath. You let it out, and it's visible. A puff. A ghost of warmth in a room that has none. You sit for a while on a low bench. It's meant for processing, for paperwork, maybe, for something routine. You sit and feel your body settle into the hush. You don't speak. There's no one to speak to. But you imagine someone might have once, just to not be alone, just to pretend. You trace the seam of the floor with your boot. The grout is cracked. Something grows in the split. Not mold, not quite. Just a persistence. Even here, life insists. Even here, something tries. You don't leave quickly. You stand eventually, slowly, like the air itself is holding you in place, asking you not to go. You glance once more at the rows, the drawers, the stillness. You whisper a name, not yours, not theirs, just a name, to see if the room listens. And then you go, stepping back into the corridor, where the temperature begins to rise again, slightly, unwillingly, and the sound of your own breathing feels like the loudest thing in the world. Behind you, the door doesn't close. It exhales, then holds its breath. A quiet pause, waiting, maybe, for someone else, or maybe just remembering the shape of light against the floor. Nothing more, nothing less, only stillness, and the faintest hum, like a name not yet spoken. The corridor behind you doesn't shut. It leans into silence like someone listening. A door left ajar, not by accident, but by resignation. The kind that doesn't care who follows, or what does. Your steps carry forward, though your thoughts trail behind, still curled around the shadow of cold drawers and silent morgue slabs. There is no closure, only the shuffle of your breath as it steadies and then falters again when you hear it. Not a bark, not yet. Just the subtle thrum of memory, nails clicking on tile, breath like wet cotton, and the barely there whine of something that remembers your voice more than your face. You pause at the next door, hand on the handle that has learned, like everything else here, not to expect kindness. And still, it opens. The air on the other side is warmer, but not in a way that comforts. It's thick, damp, the kind of heat that makes every wall feel like it's breathing behind its paint. Somewhere down the hall, you hear a soft, metallic creak. It's not alarming, just persistent. A sound that has existed longer than it should, like a fan blade turning on habit alone. You step into it. The hallway is narrow but wider than your memory suggests. There are old posters peeling from the walls, some promoting vaccinations, some warning of strange symptoms. One, faded nearly to nothing, features a cartoon dog wearing a bandana. It once promised safety, or maybe companionship. It now promises nothing. Just colorless ink, dust-clung and mute. You move past it, and there, the first bark. Sharp, echoing. But it doesn't sound surprised. It sounds certain. Not a discovery, but a recognition. You stiffen, not in fear, but in something quieter. A kind of grief you haven't earned but still feel. It's been hours since you last saw anyone with eyes that asked questions. And now, something has remembered you. The next door leads outside, or near enough. The metal frame is warped from heat and something stronger than fists. You push it open with your shoulder, and it resists, groaning in the same way your own thoughts do. Slow, stubborn, and full of warning. When it gives, the light changes. It's dusk, or pretending to be. The kind of low sky that forgets how to end the day. You step out, pavement beneath you, cracked, glistening in puddles that reflect nothing clearly. The alley stretches, narrow and too quiet, but the moment your foot shifts again, there it is. A growl. Not close. Not yet. But behind something. Around something. Inside something. You turn your head slowly, and there, at the far end, a shape. Quadrupedal. Still. Watching. Its head tilts, not in curiosity, but in that way dogs do when trying to remember a sound from long ago. The shape doesn't move. You do. The sound of the door closing behind you, softly, barely there, changes the air. The dog reacts, not with movement, not yet, but with breath. Heavy, familiar, and somehow disappointed. You don't run. Not because you're brave, but because running would be louder than you can bear. Instead, you step sideways against the alley's damp bricks and keep your eyes down, not out of fear, out of respect. Somewhere in this city, before it became a whisper of itself, someone taught this dog to sit. Maybe it was you. There's a second now, a softer padding behind a dumpster. You see only the ears, upright, alert, waiting for confirmation. You give none. You pass like a thought too quiet to speak aloud. The next street is wider. Broken signs swing overhead. Pharmacy, missing its last two letters. Video rentals, lost entirely to ivy. You walk beneath them, a ghost among ghosts. The barking starts again, not behind you this time, but to the left. A side yard. Chain link fence buckled in the center, as though something pushed through and almost forgot it didn't need to. You stop again, not from fear, but from the weight of something you don't want to name. The dog steps out, fur matted with rain and something else. Its ears twitch. Its nose lifts. Its head cocks in that same too familiar way. It steps toward you, then stops. And in its eyes, recognition or something close. Not affection, not trust, just a question. It sniffs, then barks once. Sharp, final. The kind of bark that once meant sit, or stay, or don't go without me. It doesn't chase. It just watches. You move on. Through another door, into another building. This one smells like lemon cleaner and mildew, a combination you didn't expect to miss. The tile floor is broken, uneven. Your foot hits something small and round, a tennis ball, yellow once, brown now, teeth marks still visible. You leave it, The barking resumes, distant again. But this time, you know they're following. Not hunting, not tracking, just remembering. You try not to count how many there are. The sound changes as they pass through corridors you've already crossed. A door squeals on its hinges. A trash can topples. A pause. A whine. Then silence. You reach a stairwell. It smells like rust and cold metal. You begin to climb. Your hand on the rail feels the slight vibration before you hear the pause. 1 floor down. Maybe 2. You keep going. You don't hurry. The top floor opens to a roof. Open sky, wind, the scent of rain that isn't falling yet. You walk to the edge. Below, the street is empty, but you know they're there, waiting, remembering. You sit, legs over the side, breathing slow. The lighter you took earlier flickers in your hand. You don't light it. You just let the wheel turn once, catching briefly, then failing. The dogs do not bark again, but the door they came through creaks once more. And in that creak, you hear it. The sound of a door they remember. The sound you forgot you ever closed. You lean back slowly, arms behind you, wind soft against your face. The city does not forgive, but it remembers. And in the quiet that settles like a worn blanket across your shoulders, you think maybe the dogs do too. Somewhere below, nails scratch tile again. Softer now, more distant. As if the memory is fading. As if the door has closed. Not locked, just closed. And the wind moves through your hair like breath. Quiet, familiar, almost warm. The city doesn't vanish all at once. It fades, in layers. First the voices, then the alarms, then the way light reflects off glass. It becomes quieter than it has ever been, not just in sound, but in the way silence settles on things. The way dust falls on the shoulders of mannequins behind cracked windows, or how shadows grow longer without ever moving. You don't notice the exact moment downtown stops being alive. Only that when you turn the corner, the neon signs still blink, but they blink for no one. You've never felt so visible, or so unseen. You step carefully down the middle of a wide avenue that once pulsed with life, with taxis, sirens, shouting, laughter. Now your footfalls are the only rhythm. They sound too loud, too definite. Each one cuts into the stillness like a mistake. Your breath has started to echo, not off the buildings, but inside your own skull. You don't know if you're holding it too long or letting it out too quickly. You're just trying not to disturb the hush that hangs over everything, like wet linen hung out to dry but never collected. There are chairs outside a cafe, 3 of them tipped over, 1 still upright. There's a menu board, written in cheerful chalk, smeared by rain and time. The soup of the day is no longer a priority. You linger near the door, not because you want to go inside, but because the inside looks exactly how it probably did 20 minutes before someone ran screaming from it. A cup is still warm on the counter. A spoon sits inside it. Someone's coat hangs on a hook. You keep walking. The lights from the towering buildings are still on, but they flicker without meaning now. Elevators frozen mid-floor, lobbies without attendants. A plant has tipped over near the base of one, soil spread like dark confetti across the polished marble. You think about cleaning it up. You don't know why. Maybe because it seems like someone should. You don't. Farther down the block, an advertisement loops on a massive screen. A perfume commercial. A model's face, eyes half-lidded, smile half-formed, stares at you between quick cuts of flowing fabric and impossibly clear skies. Her voice says something soft, again and again. You stop listening after the 3rd time. Not because it hurts, but because it almost doesn't. She looks like someone you lost, or maybe someone you're still about to. You pass a bus shelter. The bench is clean. There's a newspaper on it, open to a crossword halfway filled. The pen is still tucked into the fold. Whoever sat here didn't know it would be the last thing they touched. Or maybe they did. and finishing the puzzle felt too heavy. You wonder what the 7-letter word for forget was. You don't sit down. A vending machine near the corner still glows, bright and blue like an aquarium. Rows of candy and chips sit untouched behind the glass, each coil uncoiled halfway. Someone tried to get something, maybe succeeded. The glass is smeared with fingerprints, and below it, a trail of something, maybe cola, maybe blood, leads away into the side alley. You don't follow it. You find yourself turning corners without thinking, as if your body remembers the layout of this city better than your mind does. Every alley has its own scent, its own ghost. A loading dock behind a nightclub smells like spilt beer and something less describable. A stack of crates has been pulled apart, like someone tried to build a barricade and then changed their mind, or had it changed for them. You come across a parked car with the door still open, dome light blinking like a tired eye. There are toys on the floor in the back seat, a blanket, a pacifier. The silence inside this car is thicker than the one outside. You close the door gently. The dome light dies. Somehow that makes it worse. And yet, all around you, life lingers in objects. Umbrellas hooked over railings, magazines in salon windows, a traffic cone knocked over but not crushed. There's no chaos, no wreckage in the usual sense, just absence. Everything stopped mid-movement, like a film paused, like a breath held. In the distance, something flickers. Not a threat, not quite, just movement. Maybe a curtain, maybe the reflection of your own shape in a window. You stand still until it stops, and when it does, you keep walking, more slowly now. You find yourself drawn toward the city center, where all roads used to point, the place with the most people once, the shops, the benches, the massive digital clock that now reads a frozen 3:08. Was it AM or PM? You don't remember anymore. Time has stopped caring. The streets begin to widen here, less narrow, less cluttered, but not more open. The silence is thicker somehow, like the city is holding its breath with you. You hear something, not a voice, not even a sound, just pressure, the kind that comes before thunder. You pause beneath a streetlight. It doesn't flicker, it just glows, steady, like it was built for someone who might still be watching. On one building, a banner still flaps loosely. Sale ends. Monday, it says. Monday has come and gone. The wind tugs at the fabric, trying to peel it off. Below it, mannequins stare from behind cracked display glass. None of them are dressed for the weather. You notice a soft hum, not electricity, not engines, something internal, in you. You touch your chest to be sure you're still breathing. You are. It's shallow, but steady, like the rhythm of something resigned, not afraid, just tired. A bird flutters somewhere above, then vanishes behind a billboard. It didn't belong here before, and somehow still doesn't. But its wings cut the quiet for a moment, and that moment is enough to let you blink again. You pass a fountain. The water isn't running, but there's still a sheen across the stone. Someone once threw coins here, wished here, hoped here. You run your hand across the edge. One coin is still warm. You don't take it. You just notice. And now the city center opens up. A small plaza. A sculpture of a globe, half graffitied, stands at its heart. The benches around it are empty. No backpacks, no lunch wrappers, just the suggestion that someone was about to sit. But then something else happened. You don't know how long you stand there. Long enough for a light breeze to pass through your sleeves. Long enough for the last sound, a far-off car alarm that has been going for hours, to finally fall silent. You sit on the edge of the plaza fountain, not because you're finished, but because the city feels like it has finally exhaled, like whatever was holding its breath has let go. The neon still flashes, red, then blue, then white. You don't flinch anymore when the colors change. You just let them wash over you. Blink, fade, blink again. And in that soft, blinking light, you close your eyes for a moment and listen to what quiet really sounds like. It sounds like nothing. And it sounds like everything. It sounds like memory. It sounds like breath. It sounds like the world deciding not to end, just to rest. It sounds like stillness. Just stillness. Still there. Still yours. You leave the plaza behind, like someone stepping away from a memory that was never really theirs to keep. Not because you want to, but because the silence there has settled too deeply into your bones. It has begun to feel permanent, like dust or guilt. Your footsteps guide you eastward now, though there is no compass left in this world. Only pull, only faint currents in your chest that drift toward light, toward warmth, toward something that still hums. The buildings thin and the streets narrow. Somewhere between alley and avenue, the city begins again, differently. Not in noise, not in life, but in the faint mechanical whir that rides the edge of your hearing. Too steady to be wind, too rhythmic to be random. A low pulse, constant but fragile. You follow it not like someone seeking answers, but like someone listening for a familiar voice in a dream. The kind of voice that once read you the news over morning coffee. The kind that used to matter. And then you see it. The tower, or what remains of it. A skeletal spire, hunched and half-lit, rising above the crumpled skyline like a defiant thought. Its glass skin has long since shattered, but some bones remain. Girders still reaching, cables still curled like veins. The building's signage hangs askew, half its name lost to time. But the satellite dishes still cling to the roof like barnacles that never got the memo. One of them turns, slowly, as if trying to catch the breath of something that might still be out there. Something with a signal. The front doors are open, not shattered, just ajar. They creak when you touch them, more from disuse than damage. Inside, the air is still, not stale, just hushed, like a room holding its breath before the sermon ends. Paper litters the floor. Memos, cue cards, half-scrawled rundowns. A list of sponsors for a program that never aired. You walk through the lobby with a softness that feels borrowed, like the kind you might use when entering someone else's home without knocking. You find the stairwell. You don't take the elevator, not because it doesn't work, though it probably doesn't, but because somehow the stairs feel more honest, more deserved. Your feet find the rhythm again. Step, breath, step, breath. As the world spirals upward around you, the lights here are few and fickle, flickering with a kind of tired memory, as if they're trying to remember how to be useful. You pass floors that hum with old purpose, conference rooms now silent, studios now dark, editing bays now empty. Then near the top you feel it. The air shifts, a subtle vibration in the soles of your shoes, a warmth in the metal handrail, a low trembling frequency that buzzes beneath the skin like recognition. There's still power here. Not much, but enough. You step onto the broadcast floor. The hallway is short, but your eyes travel it slowly. Along the walls are photographs, anchors smiling in suits too stiff, meteorologists caught mid-gesture, guests frozen forever in moments of forced charm. Dust has dulled the glass frames, but their eyes still follow you, still perform for an audience long since gone. You pass a control room. Lights flicker weakly on a soundboard. A red, on-air bulb glows dimly above a door that no longer closes properly. And there, behind the glass, a studio. Small, intimate, like a place built to speak truths into the dark. The microphone sits in the center, lonely as a relic, tilted slightly askew. The chair behind it is empty, but not abandoned. There's a mug on the desk, a stack of cue cards, a post-it note that reads simply, "Keep going." You don't sit. Not yet. You walk the perimeter first, touching the edge of the green screen, brushing your fingers across the foam soundproofing. You run your hand along the desk. The wood is worn smooth where arms once rested, where hands once fidgeted between commercial breaks. You imagine the sound of paper shuffling, of clearing a throat, of someone adjusting their tie before leaning in to tell the city something they weren't ready to hear. You finally sit. The chair creaks in a way that feels familiar, like the sigh of an old friend who's been waiting for you to return, but won't ask why you left. You lean forward, elbows resting where others have rested, breath steadying where others once faltered. The mic is cold against your lips. You don't speak, not yet. But the hum of the power around you asks you to. Not for them. For you. For the moment. For the air itself. Somewhere, a monitor flickers to life. Grainy, blue-tinted. A blinking cursor pulses in the lower corner. On another screen, your own face reflects dimly, ghosted in static. You see your outline, the tired set of your shoulders, the way your eyes don't quite look into the lens. You're not broadcasting to the city anymore. The city is gone. You're broadcasting to the silence. And the silence, for once, is listening. You reach for the fader, push it up. The light above the mic shifts from red to white. A recording light. A signal flare. A whisper that says, I am still here. And then finally, you speak. Not loudly, not clearly, but softly, slowly. Words not chosen for meaning, but for how they feel in the mouth, for how they drift through the air like ash. You don't know what you're saying. Maybe it's your name. Maybe it's someone else's. Maybe it's a list of things you remember. The taste of rain on metal, the smell of warm bread, the way someone's hand once felt in yours. Maybe it's just a hum. It doesn't matter. What matters is the sound. The fact that there is sound. That the microphone catches it and sends it somewhere, into a void, into the sky, into a satellite that might still be listening, or not. The act is enough. The sending, the offering. You speak until your voice begins to crack, until your breath catches, until the words feel too heavy to shape. Then you stop. Let the silence have its turn. Let it echo. Let it breathe. And then you lean back, eyes drifting closed, the red on-air light still glowing in the corner of your vision like the last ember of a long burning house. You do not cry. But something in you shifts. Something that was brittle softens. Not healed, not fixed. Just no longer alone. You rise, gently. You leave the mic live. Leave the signal open. Let it carry whatever it can into whatever remains. You step back into the hallway. The humming follows you, not in sound, but in memory. And as you descend the stairs again, slower now, softer, you feel something like peace. Not the peace of answers, or victory, or even survival. Just the kind that comes when a message has been sent. When you've said the thing. When you've been heard, even if by no one. Outside, the night is still the same color. Still the same hush. But the city feels different now. Not awake, but listening. You don't speak again, but your footsteps say it all. Soft, certain, steady. Like the end of a signal still ringing faintly through a distant sleeping sky. Like the hush that lingers after the voice goes quiet. Like the warmth of light on the back of your neck. Not bright, just there. Like the ghost of a breath against glass. Like silence. Still breathing. Still here. The city slips behind like a memory left unfinished. Its last breath, smoke through your collar. The streets you fled, the alleyways you crawled through, the rooftops you watched collapse in silence. They fall away, folding into the fog that never lifts. You come to a place where the walls are made of glass, but nothing sees through them anymore. A mall, or what's left of one. The letters above the entrance are missing most of their name. All that remains is a blinking L, like a word cut short, like a sigh you never finished. You push through the broken door, and the silence greets you like old perfume, faint, clinging, trying too hard to still matter. The air inside smells like dust and sale stickers and something underneath both. Something warm once. Something rotted now. Your footsteps become hesitant. Not because you're afraid of what's ahead, but because the floor remembers too many shoes. It feels wrong to interrupt. Glass crunches beneath your soles. Small, polite apologies with every step. Display windows line the hall, mannequins still trying on last season's promises. Their arms are raised in gestures no longer relevant. One is missing a hand. Another wears a scarf too clean for the rest of this place. You stare a little too long. You don't remember why. The escalator ahead is frozen in mid-ascent, caught between the floors like a breath that never exhaled. Its teeth are dusty and sharp, and somewhere near the top, a shoe waits for its owner. Children's size. Red. Untied laces draped down like ribbons mourning nothing in particular. You do not climb it. You take the stairs beside it. They creak in protest but hold. Upstairs is quieter somehow. Less wrecked, but emptier in that uncanny way, like everyone left in the same 5 seconds, clutching bags of panic and perfume, unsure which mattered more. A perfume ad leans from a bent light fixture above you, its corner flapping like a loose leaf on a dying branch. The woman in it is beautiful. Not in the way the world used to call beautiful, but in the way loss makes everything look softer. You know her, or someone like her. Someone whose voice once said your name like it wasn't a mistake. You sit down on the edge of a dried fountain, where water used to collect coins and laughter. Now it collects dust and half-torn flyers. One reads, "Emergency Shelter Map." The corner is burned. The place it points to is smudged. You imagine someone standing here days ago, or maybe years, turning it in their hands like it would change depending on the angle. The skylight above is fractured, but the sky beyond is gray in all directions. No sun, no moon, just clouds with their teeth clenched. A bird moves across it, or maybe a scrap of paper caught in the wind. The difference doesn't matter. You feel watched, but not by anything unkind, just by things that remember being alive. The walls hum gently, not mechanical, not electric, just full. You wander through a store with no name, only the suggestion of it in peeling adhesive above the frame. Clothes still hang, untouched, sweaters with tags, coats that were meant to be tried on in mirrors that now only reflect shadow. One of them fits you, not perfectly, but in that way clothes feel when borrowed from someone who loved you enough to share. You put it on without thinking. It smells like dust and mothballs and someone else's memory. Further in, there's a photo booth tipped onto its side, its curtain half closed, like an eyelid mid-blink. Inside are strips of faces, smiling, grimacing. One is blurred beyond recognition, as if the person moved at the last second or refused to be remembered. You take it anyway. The ink smudges against your thumb, a fingerprint where a name should be. The food court is a graveyard of smells. Grease turned stale, sugar turned bitter. No warmth, just suggestion. Trays still wait on tabletops, where meals were abandoned mid-bite. A soda cup has caved in on itself, the straw bent like a snapped limb. You pass by it without touching. The air here is thicker, heavier, as if even the molecules don't want to move. You hear music, faint, tinny, distant, a single note on repeat. A children's ride maybe, one of those small horses that rocks back and forth for a quarter. You follow the sound through a corridor of shuttered storefronts. Most gates are down. One is half open, as if it changed its mind midway through closing. The ride is still moving. A tiny plastic fire truck rocks gently, empty, creaking on a motor that forgot how to die. The tune it plays is distorted, slowed, like a lullaby on too little sleep. You sit across from it, not watching it, but listening, trying to remember why the sound makes your chest feel tight. A name stirs in your mouth, not yours, someone else's. But it fades before you can taste it fully. A wind passes through the hall, not from outside, from somewhere beneath. Vents maybe, or memory. It smells like shampoo, the cheap kind, purple bottle. You used it once, or someone close to you did. It catches in your coat. You hold it close. In a corner is a kiosk for phone cases. Hundreds of them. Bright colors, cartoon eyes, names of shows you never watched. None of the phones they once dressed still exist. You pick one up. It's cracked down the middle. The crack fits your thumb like it was waiting for you. You descend a side stairwell, metal and forgotten, echoing with each step like footsteps behind your own. But no one follows. Not really. The basement is colder. The kind of cold that isn't about temperature, but about distance. Time, maybe. The walls here are too close. The lights don't work. You light a match. Or maybe just imagine one. Either way, the darkness peels back a little. There's a bench, a mall bench, plastic, bolted to the floor. You sit. The kind of sit that sinks. The kind that holds you like a bad dream you're not ready to wake from. Across from you is a toy store, locked behind a gate. Inside, everything is in perfect order. Boxes stacked, plush animals arranged. It should be comforting. It isn't. A teddy bear on the top shelf is missing one eye. The other stares at you. You look away first. Somewhere in this mall, someone once held your hand, pulled you toward a pretzel stand, laughed too loud, told you something embarrassing, called you their something. You don't remember the word, only that it felt like belonging. Your feet move again without permission. They carry you past signs pointing to exits that don't work, past emergency phones that no longer ring, past a bathroom with the light flickering like it can't decide whether to stay. You find the main atrium again, the fountain, the ad, the scarfed mannequin. It all feels smaller now, like the memory has finished shrinking. Outside, the sky hasn't changed. Still gray, still clenched. But you're ready to leave it now, not because it's safe, but because it's finished saying what it needed to say. You step outside. The doors do not close behind you. And somewhere above you, from a cracked skylight, a single feather drifts down, not from a bird, but from a display. White, soft, meaningless, but somehow beautiful in its fall. It lands on your shoulder. You do not brush it off. You keep walking, and the mall does not follow. The mall fades behind you, like the smell of perfume on someone who has long since left the room. You don't look back, not because there's nothing left to see, but because the glass in your mind has already frosted over. The faces, the silence, the carousel song, they all belong to another layer of memory now. You carry them with you without needing to hold them. The road out stretches upward. That same illusion of escape that the world always paints into its horizon. Climb high enough, and you'll be free. But the freeway does not offer freedom. It offers height, smoke, and the remains of too many exits taken too late. You climb anyway. The incline greets you with a sky that glows wrong. Not the gold of sunrise or the softness of dusk. It's something else, like the inside of an oven door left slightly ajar, orange, roiling. It flickers in the puddles, reflects off windows, leaks into your breath. The air is warmer here, not comforting, just closer. The first cars are abandoned politely, parked at odd angles, their doors still shut, windows intact. You pass by them like ghosts that forgot how to leave. A minivan with a juice box still lodged in the cup holder. A pickup truck with a teddy bear on the dashboard, half melted into the plastic. The silence between them is not empty. It's expectant. Then the road curves, not sharply, but like a question mark trailing off. And the politeness ends. Vehicles twisted into one another, steel folded like cheap paper, windshields spider-webbed with impact or desperation. You step carefully over glass that used to be windows. It crunches beneath your weight like promises never kept. And then there is the bus. Suspended across the broken railing, As if caught mid-leap, its tail end dipped downward toward the street below. Flames lick at its undercarriage like tongues tasting metal. It doesn't roar, it sighs. A long exhale of something that once wanted to save people and failed. The heat from it reaches you in pulses. Not enough to burn, just enough to remind. You pass beneath it slowly, as if walking through someone else's heartbeat. The fire above casts shadows in slow motion. Your own silhouette stretches and recoils across pavement like it's not sure it belongs to you. You don't look up. There's nothing there you need to see. The next stretch of road is scorched. Puddles of blackened oil shimmer with rainbows, old fuel bleeding a last spectrum into the dark. Tires shredded into curls, seats turned to skeletons. A shopping bag flutters along the guardrail, red logo, half torn, caught on a hook of bent metal. You stop and watch it for a while. It flaps like it's trying to take flight, but only remembers how to fall. A police car sits sideways across 2 lanes. Its lights long dead, its door ajar. Inside, the radio is cracked, the mic dangling like a question never answered. A notebook rests on the passenger seat. You glance in, and though the words are smeared by time or smoke or tears, one line lingers beneath your breath. Hold the line. You close the door gently. Let the silence have it. Above you, the sky shifts. A low groan, as if the clouds themselves are adjusting their weight. The smoke on the horizon thickens, red leaking into gray like a wound that refuses to close. The heat presses closer. Every breath tastes like copper. You find a break in the guardrail where the concrete has crumbled away. The edge looks out over the city, or what's left of it. Rooftops half swallowed by fire, antennas bent like wilted flowers. In the far distance, a billboard burns quietly, the face on it still smiling through the flames. You don't know the brand. You remember the smile. Further on, the freeway narrows, not by design, but by collapse. Part of the overpass has sunken inward, the weight of trucks and time and sorrow too much to bear. You descend cautiously, your boots sliding slightly against the tilt of asphalt. A tire swings from a severed axle above, creaking like a child's swing left out in the storm. Below it, a doll lies face down, hair singed, one arm missing. You do not touch it. There's a moment, just before the next bend, where everything goes quiet again. Not the absence of sound, but a kind of stillness that feels like something holding its breath. You pause. Listen. Not for danger, just for confirmation. The wind moves. Something metal shifts. A bird, maybe, or the memory of one. The next vehicle is still running. The engine hums low, like an old man snoring softly. Headlights cut faint beams into the smoke. You approach it slowly, your own footsteps now loud by comparison. The driver's side window is rolled down. The seat is empty. Music plays on the radio. A song you've heard before, not recently, but somewhere in the folds of youth. A ballad. Something about waiting. You listen until it ends. Then you walk on. A gas tanker leans against the median, split down its side like a gutted fish. The smell here is overwhelming. Fuel, scorched rubber, old panic. A trail of black leads away from it, disappearing into a tunnel up ahead. You follow without thinking, not because it feels safe, but because there's nowhere else left to go. Inside the tunnel, the heat softens. The sound changes. More echo than noise, more breath than wind. The walls are close. You pass a maintenance panel left ajar, wires like vines spilling out. A fire extinguisher hangs beside it, long discharged, its red paint blistered. A crowbar rests nearby. You leave it. You don't need to fight. In the deepest part of the tunnel, you find a motorcycle tipped on its side. The wheels still spin, gently. The seat is torn, the mirror cracked. But in its reflection, you catch your face, or something close to it, smudged, soft, the you that kept walking, the you that never stopped. You meet your own eyes, and then let them go. The light at the end of the tunnel is not bright. It's tinted by ash, filtered through smoke, shaped by the flames still dancing on the edge of the overpass. You emerge into a wind that carries warmth and memory, the kind that smells like summer, even when it isn't. To your left, a vending machine has melted into itself. Plastic pooling, buttons caved inward. You can still read one label, cold water. The irony doesn't hurt. It just rests gently on your shoulders. You find a bench here, a metal one, bolted to the concrete. Its paint flaked, its surface too warm. You sit anyway. Let your bones remember the act. Let your muscles unclench. Let your eyelids fall half closed. In the distance, another bus. Upside down this time. Its wheels face the sky like an animal surrendered. Its windows reflect nothing. Its engine is silent. You stay a while longer because the road beyond doesn't promise anything better, only more of the same. But that's okay. There's comfort in the repetition, in the rhythm, in the fact that you're still here. The fire above still burns, but it's quiet now. It watches and does not move. The fire still glows behind your eyes, even though your back is turned to it now. Somewhere above and behind, the freeway is still smoldering, the suspended wreckage of 1,000 ordinary moments turned molten and silent. The world has stopped climbing. The path no longer rises. It turns instead toward gravity, toward stone, toward the low sound of water in a throat it doesn't have. You follow it, not because you choose to, but because there is nothing left that hasn't already burned. Down here, it is cooler. Not cold, not yet. Just cool like breath behind glass. The kind of cool that creeps into your sleeves and stays, not with malice, but with persistence. The concrete glistens beneath you, slick with runoff and old condensation, and the walls feel close, too flat, too much like something once sealed. It smells of algae and echoes, of rust and runoff, of water that remembers more than it tells. Your feet make no sound, not really, just small suggestions against the damp. You move like a rumor, less real with every step, as if the deeper you go, the more the world forgets your weight. Overhead, a pipe groans. Or maybe it's something behind the pipe. Or maybe it's just the memory of pressure unwinding, slowly, eternally. You don't look up. There's no need to. The corridor narrows and widens in slow rhythm, like breath caught in ribs. There's a flickering light behind a mesh cage, and it hums like a wasp caught in amber. You pass it without watching, because you know what kind of shadows it casts. You've walked through those before. Harsh, diagonal, too sharp at the edges, like they've been cut from something softer and made wrong on purpose. The water begins as suggestion, a sheen, a slickness, a change in the smell, from mildew to mold to something brackish. You feel it in the soles of your shoes before you see it. The soft resistance of surface tension, the way it makes everything slightly heavier. When it finally shows itself, black and wide and slow as oil, it does not ripple. It waits. There's a platform, rusted grates and bent railings, a lever with chipped paint and a sign you can't read. You touch it anyway, not because you want to, but because you have to. It moves with the reluctant strength of something that hasn't mattered in years. There is a sound, deep, groaning, echoing, the kind of sound that makes you feel small, the kind of sound that was never meant for ears. The floodgate opens. It does not roar, it exhales. Water, once held back by reason or convenience, spills forward in slow defiance. It carries things with it. Bits of cloth, paper turned to pulp, a doll's arm. You do not stare long enough to be sure. You do not wait for it to clear. You walk into it, because there is nothing else left to do. The water is not cold, but it is not warm either. It is the kind of temperature that unnames things, that makes you forget skin. It clings, slow and constant, not like rain, but like hands. The first steps are shallow. Then the depth rises. Ankle, shin, knee. You keep going. The corridor widens again, becomes a basin. Columns rise like forgotten ribs of some drowned cathedral. The water deepens further. You have to swim now. The sound of your arms cutting the surface is the only thing that reminds you you're still here. Still moving, still above. And then something brushes your ankle. You do not stop. You do not look. You do not name it. You swim harder, not faster, just with more conviction. The water does not push back. It simply waits to see who you will be on the other side. There are doors beneath the waterline, vents with bars, shapes that do not shimmer because there is no light. You think of bodies that may still be floating, not fresh, not rotten, just still. The kind of still that water preserves, not kindly, just precisely. Your fingers touch a ledge, concrete, wet, and familiar. You grip it with the urgency of someone who does not remember what urgency feels like. You pull yourself up slowly, like returning from somewhere you shouldn't have gone. The water drains from your clothes in steady lines. It does not rush. Nothing down here ever rushes. This part of the corridor is darker, not by absence of light, but by weight. The air is thick, not with heat, but with something older. You step carefully. Each footfall leaves a mark that vanishes behind you. The smell is worse here, not decay, something more sterile. Bleach and rust and something beneath them both. Something clinical once, now abandoned. You breathe through your mouth. There's a sign that once meant direction. Now it only means memory. You glance at it, but you do not understand the letters. They aren't illegible. They're just wrong. Too clean for a place that has rotted so much. A leftover intention from a time when signs meant safety. You follow it anyway. The next door is heavy, metal with a rubber seal. The kind of door that was meant to keep something in, or something out. You open it slowly, and it sighs like lungs after a long-held breath. Beyond it, another corridor. Drier, somehow. More echo than moisture. But the walls drip anyway. You see light up ahead, flickering. Yellow and white and not entirely real. It comes from a series of broken monitors. A terminal still active. The screen blinks with something you once would have called data. Now it just looks like static that remembers how to pretend. You stand in front of it and let the light touch your face. There's a chair beside it. Still warm, though no one's there. You do not sit. You only rest your hand on the back. The leather is cracked and soft, like old memory foam that remembers too many shapes. It smells faintly of antiseptic, and something sweeter just beneath. You don't try to place it. Farther on, the tunnel begins to slope upward again. The water behind you still drips from your sleeves, from your collar, from your hair. You are a moving puddle now, a breathing shadow. Your steps echo softer here, like even sound is being absorbed by the walls, the way grief gets absorbed by quiet. At the very end, there is one more door. This one is not locked, not sealed, not groaning. It's open already, just a little. Enough to suggest, enough to ask. You touch it, and it doesn't resist. You push, and it opens like a yawn. Beyond it, the night. Not the surface. Not yet. But almost. You can smell the change in the air. The way dirt smells when it's near grass. The way stars feel, even when you can't see them. There's a ladder. Metal, slick, old. You begin to climb. Each rung is a confession. Each step, a memory. And when you reach the top, there is no gate, no checkpoint. Just a hatch, slightly ajar. You lift it with both hands, and for the first time in what feels like days, the world breathes on you. Cool air, quiet air, no siren, no scream. Only the soft sound of something living beneath leaves, something small, something not afraid of you. You step out. You do not dry off. You do not run. You do not even look back. You simply listen. And far below, the water still moves. Slow, heavy, remembering. Just like you. The water recedes behind you with the sound of reluctant breath, a hush, not a splash, as though the city is careful not to disturb itself too much anymore. You stand on the edge of something not quite dry land, but no longer water either. Your shoes are heavy with what they've absorbed, your bones heavier still. Around you, the last buildings of Raccoon rise like monuments carved from sleep. Soot-streaked and silver-gray, their glass eyes vacant, watching without watching. You don't know how long you've been moving, but the air here is different, not cleaner, just quieter. And above all, still. There's a road beneath your feet, though it feels more like a scar. Cracked blacktop split with ivy, littered with the bones of vehicles that never left. Some askew as if parked in a hurry, others folded around light poles and fire hydrants like strange metal flowers blooming too late. A child's shoe sits on the double yellow line. No foot, no child. Just a worn bit of canvas, pink with a frayed strap, holding more story than it should. You step past it without thinking, but not without feeling. That comes later. Always later. The buildings are thinning now. The towers behind you stretch taller than they should, as if trying to remember the sky they once reflected. Their windows wear soot like mourning veils. Some are broken, but not in rage, just weathered, like glass too tired to keep holding in what's gone. One door is still open, just slightly. It lets out nothing, invites no one. You pause at it, not to enter, but to feel the ghost of warmth that once came from automatic heaters and display lights, the breath of a store that used to sell noise and shine. But now its only offering is stillness, and you accept it. Somewhere, far off, a sign creaks on its hinge. Not because of wind, there is no wind, but because it's time. Because even forgotten metal needs to speak now and then, to remind itself it once moved. You look back over your shoulder, though nothing called your name. The skyline remains, dimension, hollowed, familiar in the way dreams are familiar, close but never graspable. You try to take it in, as if the act of seeing might make it stay. But it doesn't. It softens instead, edges rounding, shadows blurring, until Raccoon isn't a city anymore, but a suggestion of one. You don't know why you stopped walking, but your feet did. Maybe it's the quiet. Maybe it's the weight of having left. Or maybe, without meaning to, you've been waiting for the city to say goodbye. And now you realize it won't. It doesn't need to. It never learned how. Cities don't close the door behind you. They just dim the lights and let you go. You kneel beside a burned-out sedan, not for shelter, but for closeness. Inside, the interior has been baked to ash, steering wheel melted, radio warped, an air freshener shaped like a tree hanging from the rearview mirror, spinning ever so slightly, even though there's no air to spin it. It smells like nothing now, but your mind provides a scent anyway. Pine, or maybe green apple, because it must, because memory is generous that way, even when it shouldn't be. Somewhere in your coat pocket, a slip of torn paper flutters as you shift. You don't take it out. You already know what it says. It's not a message. It's not a map. Just handwriting, slanted and hurried, from someone who once said, "We'll meet at the stairs." You don't remember whose stairs, or what time they meant, just the words. You wonder if they made it. You wonder if you did. There is no answer, but the silence doesn't feel cruel. Just full, like it's holding more than it can carry. You rise again, joints stiff in that aching human way that reminds you you're still here, still yours. The skyline hasn't changed. Neither has the silence. But now it stretches like a sheet across the ground behind you. The city not abandoned, just asleep. It breathes slowly through the holes in its windows, sighs through the cracks in its doors. Even its sirens have stopped pleading. Whatever needed to be screamed has already been heard. and there's nothing left to do but whisper. A shopping cart rests on its side near the curb, tipped toward a pile of mold-softened newspapers and a soda can blooming with rust. A stuffed bear leans against the wheel, missing an eye, missing more than that. You don't touch it, but your hand itches. You think of your neighbor's child, the one who used to wave through the fence before the world began to bend. You don't remember her name, but you remember her laugh. It sounded like marbles in a glass jar. There's a mural on the wall of the building beside you, half erased by sun and soot, but you can still make out fragments. A skyline drawn in vibrant color, a river, a bridge, children holding hands beneath fireworks, the kind of city that was more hope than memory. You imagine someone painted it knowing it wouldn't last. A prayer made in color, not because they believed it would work, but because they needed to try. Now the blue sky is chipped and the stars are smeared, but the hands still hold. Somehow, even now. You begin walking again, slower this time, not out of caution, but reverence. The road is narrowing, the buildings falling away into low warehouses, fields of concrete, utility poles standing like tired sentinels. And there, behind it all, the fog begins. Not thick, not theatrical. Just enough to blur the edges. Just enough to remind you that what lies ahead is not the same as what you're leaving. You stop once more, not because something moves, nothing has moved, not because something calls, no voice would dare. You stop because this is the moment you'll look back from, the last breath before the silence becomes memory. You turn, and the city is there, not loud, not burning, just still, sleeping. Rooftops softened by haze, windows reflecting nothing but sky. Smoke curls in lazy spirals like hair on a pillow. Somewhere a rooftop garden has gone feral. Vines drape over ledges, reaching for something they've already touched. You don't say goodbye. The air doesn't need it. It holds your warmth, your scent, your footsteps. That's enough. You turn forward again and walk. And behind you, Raccoon remains, not gone, not dead, just resting, sleeping. The city does not vanish behind you. It lingers, stretched and slow, like the last warmth of a fire left to burn itself out. Even as your feet carry you forward, not toward safety, but toward distance, the skyline remains pressed against the inside of your eyes. And it isn't a line of buildings anymore, not really. It's a hum, a hush, a sleeping breath in the shape of stone and glass and memory. The road ahead is straighter than you expect, but nothing about it feels promising. It cuts across cracked earth and low hills, curving just slightly, as if even the path itself is reluctant to leave. You walk without rhythm, the kind of tired that has slipped past muscle and now lives somewhere beneath your ribs. Every few steps, a pebble crunches beneath your shoe, startling the silence but not quite breaking it. There are no birds here, no bugs. Even the sky seems afraid to make a sound. Off to your left, a fence leans against itself. Chain links rusted in loops, posts splintered and slumping. Beyond it lies nothing that calls your name. Just dry grass and forgotten wire, as if someone once tried to keep something in, or keep something out, and then stopped caring which. The wind picks up just enough to suggest a memory, not a breeze. You close your eyes briefly, letting it pass over your cheeks like breath from something too tired to speak. You see shapes in the distance, but they refuse to become landmarks. They remain impressions. A barn, maybe, or a truck, or a billboard with the paint stripped by sun and time until only the faint outline of a smile remains. You think it advertised soda once. Or maybe salvation. You're not thirsty, but your throat is dry. You are not afraid, but your body still listens for danger in every creak of gravel, every ripple in the long grass that follows your steps like a shadow stretched too thin. The ground here smells different. Less blood, more dust. The rot has softened, not vanished. It waits, hidden beneath the soil, nestled in the bones of things left behind. A tire swing spins slowly from a tree with no leaves. You don't stop, but you watch it turn, watch it drift and return, like it has nowhere else to be. It is the only thing that moves besides you. There's a part of you that keeps expecting someone to call out. A voice, a crackle of radio, a name spoken not in fear, but in recognition. It doesn't come. It never does. Companionship now is something half-remembered, like a jacket you once wore, like a laugh you once shared in a car that smelled of cheap coffee and pine-scented air freshener. You can still feel their footsteps beside yours, but you know they're not there, not anymore, not in the way that matters. The road begins to rise, just slightly, not a hill, more of a sigh in the land, and when you reach the crest, you stop, not because you must, but because the view asks you to. Ahead lies the open stretch, wide and faded, stitched with the lines of distant roads and broken fences and trees that are more bone than branch. It is quiet here, deceptively so. The kind of quiet that feels like it's waiting for something, not to arrive, but to stop echoing. You sit, not because you're tired, though you are, but because there's nowhere else to be just now. The asphalt is warm beneath you, not welcoming, but present. You draw your knees up, rest your chin against them, and let your gaze soften. It's not safety you're searching for, just proof that there is still a world beyond the one you left. Something unburnt, unbloodied, unknowing. A plane crosses the sky far overhead, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's just a cloud shaped like a memory of flight. The sound it makes is more absence than noise. You trace it with your eyes anyway, letting it pull a thread of longing through your chest. Not for escape, for normal, for boring, for the hum of a refrigerator, the click of a light switch, the sound of someone showering in the next room, for background noise, for anything but this solemn hush. You reach into your pocket again. The note is still there, damp at the edges, smudged where your thumb keeps finding it. The ink's almost gone, but the shape of the letters remains, etched into the paper, etched into you. You don't read it. You never do. You just hold it, folded, fragile, like a heartbeat tucked in a coat. Someone cared enough to write it. That's all that matters now. The sun is starting to dip behind you, though you hadn't noticed it rise. Shadows stretch forward now, long and uncertain, like arms reaching across time. You watch them for a while, trying to match each line to the thing that cast it. Some you recognize, some you don't. One moves wrong. You don't flinch, just wait. It fades again, like it was never there. There is no real hunger left in you, only the memory of eating, the comfort of warm bread, of canned soup steaming in a chipped bowl, of hands that passed you something without being asked. You think about that a lot now. The things people gave you without knowing they were gifts. Smiles, time, presence, silence shared, not endured. You begin walking again. The slope of the road gentles into a flat stretch that feels like a breath held in. You pass a billboard, its back turned to you. On the other side, a message once faced the city. You don't turn to read it. Some things are better unread. Let it stay a message for someone else, for the past. Ahead, the road breaks at the edges, chunks of asphalt giving way to dirt, weeds rising in the cracks. The air smells different here, still dead, but distant, like a storm long past, like grief that's no longer fresh, the kind of sadness that doesn't sting, only settles. You let it settle in you. The path turns slightly to the left, following the bend of a river you cannot see, but can hear if you listen hard enough. Water trickling somewhere below. You stop for a moment and close your eyes, letting the sound soak in. A river means life, or at least movement. You imagine following it, not to escape, but to drift, to carry what's left of you somewhere that doesn't know your name. You remember distantly that the world is larger than this, that there are places untouched, streets where the lights still flicker on at dusk, that somewhere a child is laughing at a television screen, a dog barks, a toaster pops. Life continues, unaware of how much it's missing. You don't envy them, but you wish them well. A sign appears up ahead, crooked but still standing. The letters are sun-bleached. Only a few are legible. County line, maybe, or council here. You smile without meaning to. It's the kind of nonsense that feels like a message anyway. You pass it without touching it. You're not sure when the road ends and the horizon begins. It happens slowly, asphalt to gravel, to dirt to breath. But when you look up again, there's nothing in front of you but open space. No more fences, no more rooftops, just a smear of gold across the sky, and the long ache of something unknown waiting. You pause again, and this time, you feel it. The ache not of danger, not of loss, but of distance. The city is behind you now, for good. It has curled into itself, gone quiet in your absence. Not forgotten, not forgiven, just left to sleep. And in that sleep, perhaps, something will begin again, or not. It's not your place to wonder. You shift the weight of your bag. Let your shoulders roll. Let your breath out slow. There is no destination, only forward. You begin walking once more toward the horizon, and behind you, the silence holds. Not safer, only quieter. The silence hasn't changed much. It's still soft at the edges, like fabric worn down by too many seasons. And yet, there is something different in it now. A depth. Not heavier, just less hollow. Less like the sound that came after something ended, and more like the sound that comes just before something begins. The path behind you has folded into mist. You don't remember the last building, the last scream, the last wet cough echoing from metal. You just know the wind has changed barely, and it smells of dust, not blood, and the ash, though still clinging, no longer bites. Your shoes are worn smooth. The treads have become memory. With every step, they pick up little stories from the ground. Soot, a flick of rust, the soft smear of what once was paint. The road beneath you is cracked in the middle, the edges flaking like an old wound that scabbed and forgot why. Sidewalks crumble into ditches. Traffic lights hang at the wrong angles, like limbs bent too far backward in sleep. You no longer flinch when the wires creak. Everything is quieter now. Or maybe you've just grown tired of loud things. You pass a vending machine half swallowed by ivy and despair. The glass is shattered, its shelves picked clean long ago, but there's a sticker still clinging to one corner. A cartoon mascot, wide-eyed and cheerful, beaming through the dust, as if unaware that time has marched over it with steel boots. You don't know what it sold. Gum, maybe. Or instant noodles, or something else forgettable that once filled empty moments with artificial comfort. You move past it slowly, feeling its silence join your own. The sky is the color of old dishwater, not quite gray, not quite blue, and heavy with clouds that don't cry anymore. Rain used to come here. You remember it vaguely, the sound it made on corrugated roofs, the way it softened everything, made even the rot feel romantic. Now the air only hums, low and slow, like something almost considering being a song. But it never commits. Like you, perhaps. Like everyone who remained too long. You pass an old office park with its windows all gone, teeth knocked out by months of wind and whatever came before. The sign still reads, "Welcome." You don't enter. There's no need. Whatever lives inside abandoned offices isn't meant to be remembered. You've already met too many things with voices shaped like door hinges and eyes made of flickering screens. Better to stay out here, where the world at least pretends to be natural again. The ash is softer now, less volcanic, more like the aftertaste of fire, a whisper of warmth long gone cold. It clings to your sleeves, rests in your eyebrows, follows the folds of your coat like a familiar pet. And then, for just a breath, it changes. There is color. Not much. A tiny defiance. A single bright fracture in the monotone dust. You almost step past it, not trusting it, not believing your own eyes. But it's real. A flower. Small, yellow, stubborn. Alive in the wrong season, in the wrong soil, through the wrong history. Its stem juts from a crack in the pavement, a jagged line between slabs that once held up some forgotten parking lot. Around it, nothing. Not even weeds. Just gray. But here it is, blooming, whole, real. You kneel without thinking. Not dramatically, not in awe. Just gently, as though your legs gave out a little under the weight of something not quite grief, not quite joy. Just the strange sensation of being witnessed, of seeing something brave enough to grow while everything else gave up. Its petals are soft, but not delicate. They look like they've been rained on, wind-beaten, burned even. Yet they hold. You reach out slowly, half expecting it to vanish, half afraid you'll ruin it. But your fingers brush its stem, and it doesn't flinch. It doesn't recoil. Neither do you. You sit there for a long time, on cracked cement, next to a thing that shouldn't exist, breathing not deeply, but deliberately, like your lungs are remembering how not to ration air. You don't cry, not because you couldn't, but because there is no flood left in you, only soil, and the quiet realization that things can grow in it again. Far off, a bird calls, just once, sharp, unsure, like a voice testing the sky for permission. You don't look up, you just listen. The sound feels like a line being drawn, not between before and after, but between forgetting and remembering, between the part of the world that was meant to end and the part that might still be curious. You think of names, for the flower, for the street, for yourself, not because you've forgotten them, but because it feels safe to try them on again, like old jackets rediscovered in an attic that somehow didn't burn. They fit differently now. Your own name tastes new, spoken only inside your skull. Syllables cradled behind your teeth like something too warm to chew. The wind shifts, just a little, carries something faint but sweet. Not perfume, not decay, just life. Dry grass, maybe, or damp stone. Something that isn't artificial, something that didn't come from a lab or a sewer. You breathe it in, and for the first time in days, or was it weeks, you don't brace yourself for what comes next. There's no movement nearby, no distant groan, no shattered glass under cautious feet. The world isn't safe. You know that. It never was. But right here, beside this improbable little survivor, it isn't hunting you either. You lean back slowly, letting your spine curve against the shape of the earth, uneven and sharp, but not cruel. The sky blinks overhead, that pale, uncertain color again. A memory of daylight, the kind you used to call cloudy with a chance of moods. Time trickles. A few granules of ash slide off your shoulder. You brush them away without thought, and your fingers trail across the roughness of the ground. A cigarette butt, a coin, a button, all things dropped, abandoned, forgotten. But the flower is not a relic. It was never dropped. It rose. And you did too, in a way. Eventually your legs remember themselves. You rise, not quickly, not dramatically, like a branch in thaw. Slow, almost creaking. You look down once more. The flower doesn't need anything from you. Not water, not sunlight, not prayers, just a witness. You nod, barely. Not a farewell, not a promise. Just a shared understanding that this was real. You begin walking again. The city hasn't ended, and neither have you. There are still broken signs and empty shells and stories scattered like bones. But there is something else too now. A vibration beneath the silence. A breath beneath the rot. A softness daring to spread across the rubble like moss reclaiming stone. The horizon doesn't welcome you, but it doesn't bar the way either. And somewhere in the layers of tired sky, a crack lets in a softer kind of light. Not bright, not golden, just enough to tell the difference between ash and bloom. And so you walk, one step, then another. And from behind you, the faintest flutter of yellow sways in the gray. Still there, still blooming, still real. The flower is still behind you somewhere, its color folded back into the ash, into the quiet. You didn't take it, didn't photograph it, didn't need to. It isn't something to be preserved, only noticed, only remembered. You carry it now, not as an object, but as a change in the texture of the world. Like a bruise that no longer hurts, but still shapes the way you move. The road ahead isn't marked. It isn't even a road, really. Just a suggestion of one, a worn ribbon of land that no longer leads from one place to another, but instead stretches between moments. The buildings are thinning. Some still stand, half-heartedly, as if they've forgotten how to collapse. Others are skeletons, hollow ribs and rebar, yawning into the air like mouths long finished screaming. There's no sign of rescue, no checkpoint, no signal. Just this steady hush of not quite silence, and your own breath folded into it. There's a smell now, not foul, not fresh, just open, unfiltered air, a little wild around the edges, somewhere between grass and soot. The kind of scent that feels like it was waiting, like it knew you would come. You keep walking, your limbs moving like reeds in shallow water. Not strong, not weak, just continuous. The ache has dulled into something you no longer measure, a background hum in the bones, something lived in. You step over a fallen street lamp and its long, crooked shadow. The sky overhead is bigger now, wider, empty in a way that feels less haunted. You glance up and don't flinch. There's no drone, no helicopter, no blinking red light tracing your movement. Just clouds, layered like heavy cloth, pale but not cold. They drift like they don't know how to storm anymore. Your fingers are no longer clenched. You notice that first. They hang relaxed at your sides, open to the breeze, no longer curled around a handle, a pipe, a scrap of rusted hope. You lift one hand and look at it, not to check for wounds, you already know where they are, but to remind yourself that it's still yours, still connected, still choosing to move forward. There are footprints in the dust ahead, some fresher than others, some deep, some blown soft by wind. You don't follow them. You don't avoid them. You just walk among them. You wonder who they belong to, what they carried, what they feared, whether they looked behind them as often as you did. A fence rises ahead, chain link and sagging, its metal laced with brittle vines. Beyond it, nothing remarkable, just a stretch of field, low and damp, scattered with debris and the bones of industry. But it feels different. Not sacred, not safe, just unclaimed. A place not yet written over by disaster. You push open the gate. It squeals, gently, like an old hinge trying to remember how. The grass underfoot is uneven. Not green, not dead, just alive enough to notice. You press your weight into it with each step. The soil accepts you, not eagerly, not with purpose, but like it's done this before. You move slowly now, slower than before. Not from exhaustion, not from fear, but because there's nothing chasing you anymore. Nothing that needs fleeing. Only distance, only time. There's a small rise ahead, not quite a hill, not quite a ruin, just a gentle mound with a view. You climb it, one step at a time. Your legs remember. Your lungs remember. The body is an archive of struggle, but also of arrival. When you reach the top, you don't speak. There's no one to hear you. But even if there were, words would only lessen it. The city is behind you. You can see it now, in pieces. Chimneys jutting like broken fingers. Rooftops collapsed into themselves. Streets curling inwards like veins once full of life. And smoke. Not thick anymore, just strands of it, thin and tired, like incense that forgot its prayer. But there's something else there too. Not life, not yet, but something like breath, the possibility of breath, the shape that breath might take, if ever it chose to return. You sit down, let your weight settle, let your spine fold slowly into the shape of rest. You don't need to be ready anymore, don't need to scan or brace or guess. For the first time in what might have been days or lifetimes, you let yourself feel the full weight of stillness, not safety, just stillness. Like a song that has stopped on purpose, you are not unchanged. That much is certain. The mirror of yourself you carried in your mind, the one shaped like old routines and the sound of your own laugh, it has cracked, not shattered, but bent, like light through water, like memory rewritten by necessity. You were frightened, you were strong, you were cruel sometimes, gentle sometimes. You wanted to quit. You didn't. You wanted to scream. Sometimes you did. You wanted someone to come, and sometimes someone did. Not everyone made it. That truth sits in your chest like a stone that refuses to warm. There are names you do not say aloud, faces you stopped imagining clearly, voices that blurred into the static of survival, but their absence does not vanish them. It deepens you, gives you shape, like negative space in a painting. You carry them, not as burdens, but as proof that you were never alone, even when you thought you were. The wind brushes your face now, not harsh, not mournful, just real. It moves your hair, moves the dust, moves nothing else. It is enough. You close your eyes for a moment, not to sleep, just to pause, just to feel your eyelids from the inside. They are warm, the way skin should be, the way yours wasn't for so long. You listen, not for threat, just to listen. And in that listening, you hear it. Not a scream, not an engine, not the sound of teeth behind steel, but birds, not many, not loud, just the tiniest flick of song, off-key, hesitant, like a throat learning again how not to choke. You do not turn toward it. You do not seek it. It will come when it wants to. The story doesn't end here. You know that. Nothing ever truly ends. Not like that. But this moment, this slope, this soft horizon, it is yours. Not borrowed, not stolen, not provisional, just yours. You don't need to mark it. Don't need to tell it to stay. It will stay in you, regardless. Your breath is shallow now, not from fear, but from calm. Each inhale barely a ripple, each exhale a thread. You feel your ribs rise and fall like the tide that forgot how to crash. It is not dramatic. It is not cinematic. But it is enough. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the light changes. Not brighter, not golden, just changed. Like something distant has shifted its weight. You don't stand. You don't move. You don't need to. You made it through. And you are still you. And far behind, in a city not dead, just sleeping, something stirs. Something quiet. Something small. Like breath in a cradle of ash.